Have you ever watched something that completely rewired your brain chemistry?
A procedural network drama might not be your usual pick, but it's ours.
This is The Buddie System, a 911 deep dive podcast hosted by three friends who have DM'd each other enough character dissertations to earn a PhD in media literacy.
I'm Han, coming to you straight from the characters' heads.
I'm Sil, bringing you to the observation deck.
And I'm Rachel, connecting the dots with my red string.
With our powers combined,
No stone is left unturned.
And no buddy is left behind.
Welcome to the Buddie System.
Let's move this party to the couch.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Welcome to our couch theory episode. You asked for it, so we're doing it.
That sounded like a threat.
It's a threat and a promise. They asked for this.
We're just delivering.
For those not in the know, we did a poll after our Swissgiving episode, which was like at the beginning of the hiatus, and said, what special episodes would you like to hear during the hiatus? And the number one by
A large
far,
margin.
by far, was couch theory. So that is what we are doing.
Surprise.
First.
Surprise.
It's a surprise.
This is not
surprise, but I'm not
surprising.
doing that.
In the
No.
least. Like, I think we kind of knew. We were like, okay, we're going to give options. However, bets on the couch. I think the runner-up was plot device, which we're planning to do too.
Yes.
And that'll be an interesting one. But this is all about couch.
It's all about couch, which means it's all about Buck and it's all about Eddie.
Our specialty.
So wow, crazy that you guys voted for that.
Imagine.
So anyway, without further ado, let's get into the couch theory.
Let's move this party to the couch. I don't know what I'm doing there.
You're doing 70s disco.
Sure
70s
am.
disco bisexual finger guns.
Okay, so we're going to be doing this episode with an assumption that you, the listener or viewer, or whatever you choose to be, have a base understanding or a general awareness of the couch theory, which has been kind of pervasive through the fandom. I think it's one of the first things that we, like one of the first like meta theory things that we ran into after, entrenching ourselves in the fandom. So very brief overview of what the theory is. It was kind of spawned in season 6, episode 1, which was season 6, episode 1, Let the Games Begin.
Let the games begin.
Where there was a scene at Buck's loft between Buck and Eddie and Christopher. We'll talk about this as we go through like the timeline. This is where it originated, and we're just looking at it through like a greater lens. So season 6, episode 1, Let the Games Begin. There was a scene between Buck and Eddie and Christopher at Buck's loft. Buck was making lasagna, which is a whole other thing, and we're not going to talk about it this time.
We're not doing other theories tonight. It's only couch theory.
It's only couch theory tonight. But like, it's so hard not to kind of grab some of the other things that we know about.
You'll have to vote on those for another time.
That's another episode. So Buck and Eddie are talking about how recently Bobby had to name someone as interim captain, and Buck was kind of lamenting that he or Eddie, but I think it was mostly about himself, were not picked as the interim captain, and kind of a little miffed about it and just kind of commiserating. And then Christopher chimes in and was like, Buck, you don't even have a couch. As in like, why would Bobby name you interim captain if you don't even have a couch? Which is just
weird.
You basically said you don't got your shit together.
Yeah. Which is an incredible like association to make.
It's a good observation for a preteen to be like, you don't even have enough adulting points to have a couch. So
adulting points. So basically it started within the dialogue in the text of the episode. And from that, people kind of began extrapolating and looking for things to do with Buck's couches, which equate to Buck's relationships. So it's less of like a theory and more of an in universe, in canon text metaphor
Mm-hmm.
that
At least for season 6 and 8.
at least for season 6, and it gets brought back up in season 8. In season 6, they do come back to that concept of couches relating to Buck's romantic relationships through the entire season. And it was so pervasive that even journalists were asking about it as well in press articles and interviews and everything like that. So not only is it in the text, the fandom kind of glommed onto it and made it like an even bigger thing, but the showrunners, the writers, and the actors,
Mm-hmm.
at least Oliver, I don't know how widespread it was for the other actors. I'm assuming they had some idea, but specifically Oliver, very aware of it, right? Because it is in the text. So that's kind of where it starts officially. And I think what we're going to do a little bit is take that concept and extrapolate it through like the entire series thus far. I mean, through the first half of season 8, and, you know,
Which is what has aired to this point.
Yeah. Do our more wide lens analysis of it.
Yeah. I think while we were doing our rewatch, maybe it was 206 dosed when Buck and Eddie are moving in the couch. We were like, oh my God.
Couch theory started
Wait,
earlier.
couch theory started here. So, and then as our rewatch has continued, or like as we remember other episodes, we're like, wait, this is all over the place, not just in season 6 and onwards. Were they doing it on purpose?
Nah.
Who knows?
Probably not.
Are we gonna read into it? Because I mean, the symbolism and the parallels are there. Absolutely.
Listen,
that's what you wanted. That's what you're here for.
they made the concept and the symbolism and brought it up in the text.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just looking at it from, okay, we're taking that and we're looking at all of it in that lens. Because you can't give us that and say, oh, it was only for season 6. No.
Well, I mean, and in the inception of couch theory in 601, he says, my last 2 couches came with girlfriends. So that's going all the way back to season 2.
Yeah.
So we're just taking it a wee bit further back. I think I put down, I have my little overview of couch theory, Hans version, which is just, so we have a baseline going through. The couch is a symbol of comfort and home, I think, for like everyone, just in general.
Yeah.
Like that's where you're hanging out in the living room space with your family, with your loved ones, or by yourself. And you're watching things, you're taking naps, you're reading things, like
Playing games.
You're playing games. That's just like you spend so much time on the couch. Because other than the kitchen, it's kind of like the heart of your home.
Yeah.
It's where you're like relaxing and where you should feel like safe and comfortable. So that's what that represents, home and safety and comfort. Buck kind of takes that a step further and equates it to a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So like finding the right fit and not wanting to pick the wrong one. Because like if you pick, very literal interpretation, but if you pick the wrong couch, which I have experience doing, which you were like, oh, this looks like a great couch. And then you get it home. And then a couple months later, or in our case, it was like a year later, we were like, oh, this couch is not holding up the way we thought it was going to. This couch is really uncomfortable, actually.
Which is not a metaphor for your relationship in this case, but
not my relationship, actually. No, but I'm saying it's a literal interpretation of how you can look at like a couch being uncomfortable, not being a good fit for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, picking the wrong one, this is how he's equating it in his brain. And I get it. It makes so much sense to me. And then just a couple meanings of the colors. We're going to see 3 different color couches throughout here. We have the white couches. And I think that those kind of represent like new beginnings. And also when you think of white, you think of like doctor's offices, hospitals, and it's like cold and clinical and sterile and like not inviting and uncomfortable or like anxious. You know what I mean? Just like think about when you are in that kind of environment. And then we have the black couch, and black is the best color. It's most of my wardrobe. But anyway, black represents sadness and remorse and anger. And then the blue couch represents contentment, loyalty, fulfillment, peace, tranquility, calm, stability, harmony, unity, trust, truth, confidence, and security. I looked up color meanings. This is not me just pulling shit out of my ass.
These are just like general meanings of
colors as they're represented in media.
Yes.
Like what they generally symbolically mean.
I think there is something to be said about style of couches as well.
It ties into like the comfort of it, right?
Yeah, it's the comfort of it, the hominess of it, like the aesthetic, how it matches maybe the character who owns the couch. And I think that has to be in conversation with like the color theory part of it too, because with the white couches, white can mean like very, cold, clinical, sterile sort of stuff. But a lot of times when we've seen the white couches in this show, it's in like a more like new traditional style, which is a little more like warm and homey and kind of softer. It has to play into it somehow, just like in conversation. So you can still have like a comfortable looking couch and still have it be represent like new beginnings as a white couch, or have it be like, something like that, or like the industrial style.
I do need to talk about brown, don't I? Because that fuck ass couch that his mom got him's brown.
Yeah, it's like a cognac leather.
So like a red brown.
It's a very warm brown. The couch that Margaret gets him and the couch that Buck gets with Allie are both this kind of like very modern, kind of industrial, which
like
fits the aesthetic
leather.
Of the apartment.
But
is
it doesn't
Buck?
fit Buck.
Yeah. so
would you say it's an orange brown or a red brown?
Orange
brown.
Yeah.
Okay, so orange, energy, flamboyant. Okay. Brown, endurance, stability, simplicity. I'm not going to read that much into the color of that couch.
Because it's also like because he doesn't pick it out himself.
No.
He doesn't necessarily connect the meanings of those. But if we're talking about, if we bring up color theory, just have in mind, like the style of couches would also play a factor in things. And we don't necessarily have to say like, this means this, but just like,
this is just general, like kind of color theory. And so when we're like the white couch, just kind of think about those, what the meaning behind that color couch can enhance what we're talking about.
This is just like additional reading to the reading. So we're not going to talk about color theory the whole time, I promise. just as a primer.
Okay, so should we get into it?
Yeah. You know that meme where it's like, galaxy brain, but it just like gets bigger, and like universe brain, where like the first one would be, couch theory starts in season 6. And then the next one where it's like an even bigger brain, like bigger expanded brain is like couch theory starts in season 2 with
Buck and Eddie moving Maddie's couch.
And then like the multiversal brain just like super expanded is like,
this was Rachel.
Couch theory starts in season 1 with the breakup of Abby and Buck. That's what I keep thinking
of. And to be fair, when Rachel said this to me, I was like, but no, it does. It makes sense. So I had a horrible realization.
Just now or when we were watching this before?
Earlier, before we started. I'm so sorry to bring you this parallel because I hate to compare these two people.
Oh, God.
But the Abby and Eddie parallels actually are going so hard right now.
Well, yes.
Think about, this is the beginning of couch theory, and then think about the end of couch theory and where those two characters are and how they're leaving Buck, right? And how they're leaving Buck because they're running away, but they also are lost. Like they don't know who they are.
Yep.
They've done everything for other people and haven't done anything for themselves.
And they're also trying to find themselves and find their place in the world.
Yes.
Eddie thinks his place is with Christopher. But also on top of this, right, the way Buck reacts to each of these is not asking them to stay. It is, I'm going to let you go.
Happy for you.
Yeah, it's always, I'm going to let you go. And he's supporting them because, like, he understands.
Yeah.
Even though he hates it, he understands. I would totally understand what she's doing if she would have just broken up with him instead of, you know, doing what she did. That's neither here nor there.
And this is where we would get into the whole anticipation of, you know, would Eddie just leave Buck hanging like, I'm going to come back, or just like totally like, extricate himself from his life?
Well, listen, I hope we have that conversation and have more of a parallel to this and that it's on the couch. Because the blocking of this conversation, it starts with Buck on the coffee table, sitting across from her on the couch. And then he moves onto the couch with her. And they have been foreshadowing that kind of blocking in season 8 and 808.
And we'll see as we go through like so many of these scenes with the couch, we will constantly over and over again see this coffee table blocking. I'm just going to call it that.
Yeah.
Where character A sits on the coffee table or the ottoman or whatever, facing the couch, and character B is on the couch facing character A. I think we'll see that a lot of the really serious conversations happen with that kind of blocking, where both characters are able to look at each other straight on, eye to eye, not like next to each other on the couch, right? Even if you're turned, it's like a leveling with them. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, but anytime we see that blocking, just know it's a serious conversation.
Oh, yeah.
This is like the impetus of it, right? Everything's going to follow suit. So whenever we see that, it's like, okay, get ready. This is going to be a big one. I would also like to point out that before Buck moves to the couch and they're having that conversation and him on the coffee table or the ottoman, whatever that is, it's when he's imploring Abby to believe him that he wasn't the catfish. And it's only when he moves to the couch that the breakup transpires.
Well, the leaving transpires. Yeah. The him seeing the suitcase, right?
Which did require him to move from the ottoman, coffee table, whatever that is, to the couch to be able to see past Abby behind her. And you could say like, why didn't he notice that beforehand? No, he's so like blinders on.
Because he just spent the rest of that episode having everyone not believe him. Everyone who he thinks of as like his closest people not believe him. And then he's trying to salvage this relationship that's really important to him. So he's hyper focused on that, imploring her to believe him. And then she does. So like, it's a good conversation until then.
Yeah, it's like productive and...
Right. And then it's like, finally someone believes him.
And he has this very short moment of relief where he's like, okay, now I can move from serious conversation positioning to on the couch where we're comfortable and, you know, like can be relaxed and is not relaxed for long. And I would also really like to compare his face when he sees the suitcase and realizes Abby is leaving to 808 when Buck sits on the couch solo and it has his like contemplative moment.
We will probably make that side-by-side comparison and put it up on socials.
Yeah, I think we should. And then White Couch.
I think this might be the only other time that we get a shot from the back of the couch with people sitting on it. Other than in 801?
Probably. And I don't know if that's just like logistics because of the way Abby's apartment is situated where you have that like walk through into the family room. And that would be kind of harder for like in the loft when the couch is like up against the wall.
I think it's an intentional choice to show them
here
from that angle as opposed to like from like where the fireplace is face head on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we'll head into season 2, episode 1. Under Pressure.
It's the wrong one, but
I always do the wrong one. It's the Billy, because
they did that one in season 1.
Yeah, because the song is under pressure and Billy Joel's is just pressure. So it's the do 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 do.
Yeah, both good songs.
Love them.
Come on, back in the building again.
Oof, more suitcase. At least he saw
Back
it before he sat
scene
down.
Of the being left on the same couch.
You already have coffee table blocking.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this scene specifically in our 201 episode also.
Mm-hmm. And we did talk about the blocking.
Mm-hmm. And this is when he asks her to stay.
This is the only time he's ever asked someone to stay.
Mm-hmm. Well, besides when he asks people to move in, but that's
that's not the same.
That's a different issue.
That's another episode.
Oh, it didn't occur to me that the scene from 201 and the scene from 110 were so similar with, Abby having packed her bags, getting ready to go, Maddie having packed her bags, getting ready to go, because there's a skip when you're watching an episode or during like the hiatus. But when we watched it just like back to back,
that's brutal.
It was brutal because it's
only like a couple months for him, right?
Yeah, but it's
like tops.
Just seeing it back to back like that, it's just like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sans romantic partner and more
right,
like,
but it's even worse with Maddie because because
she's family and she's already left him before
twice.
So he sits down with that coffee table blocking because this is a serious conversation because he wants Maddie to come clean about what's actually going on with Doug and why she's actually here and why she's up and leaving again when she doesn't have to. So he's kind of doing the same thing where he was imploring Abby to believe him. Now he's imploring Maddie to stay. Ugh.
So sorry again. I'm back again with the Eddie parallels because who am I if I'm not making it about Eddie?
We're going to see a lot of those, I think.
It's also just where we are in season 8 right now. I think we have talked several times about how many Maddie and Eddie parallels there are just in general with their characters. But again, this is a character who's running away. Very different reasons, but she feels like she has to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is what Eddie's doing. He feels like he has to. And I really hope, I have no idea what we're going to see. I can, theorize until the cows come home, but we've got 2 more months, a little less than 2 months to see what actually happens.
A lot of cows in El Paso. I don't know.
Rumor has it. I would love to see a parallel of this conversation because they are leading up to a serious conversation between them. That's because they haven't had one and they have to have one before Eddie leaves, if he does leave. But regardless, they're just foreshadowing this talk on the couch. So I think that it could kind of mirror this conversation where he's like, I'm more concerned with the road behind you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm more concerned with why you think this is the only solution or like what happened to get you to this point.
Yeah.
Right?
Like let's sit down and actually think this through. Because we know Eddie doesn't always think things through.
No. So, he sits down and talks with his sister, who is very emotionally closed off to try and protect him, but like also herself, and he gets her to open up in the kind of similar way that he gets Eddie to open up, which is just kind of like say a couple words and then just sit and wait.
Yeah.
And, she opens up.
With that, though, he also finds solutions.
Exactly.
He's like, okay, lay your burden on me. I'm going to figure out a way to make this the best like possible scenario. And you can kind of argue and say that maybe he's already trying to do that with looking at the houses, but not really, no,
that was just his initial reaction.
Yeah.
I really hope we get, kind of what he said to Maddie here with you don't need to, you have support right here. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to run to basically do the things that you think you need to do. You can do that right here.
Yeah.
Like with me and with other people here.
And he says standing between her and anyone who thinks they can hurt her is exactly where he wants to be. That could work for Eddie as well. Talking about going back to Eddie's parents. Like,
yeah, it could be that he offers to go with Eddie. It could be that he says, hey, why don't you fly down there first before you move? Have a conversation with Chris. Hey, maybe you should figure out why the fuck you did what you did before you uproot your entire life. You know what I mean?
Maybe talk to your kid.
right? Imagine.
Yes, imagine. But yeah, I really hope that's where we're leading to, as a conversation where, you know, because obviously Eddie didn't go back to therapy, which is wild. And then he saw a priest 1.5 times. So he has not worked through any of this emotionally, right?
Oh, and it's so frustrating.
So I really hope we either get like, you need to look at like what got you here and work on that before you try and, you know, really reconcile with Chris, because you have to have a conversation with him about this. And you can't explain to him why you did it if you don't even know.
Understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it is also interesting because, I mean, obviously at this point, this is just couch theory, like from these 2 clips. It's couch theory as it pertains to Buck specifically.
Yeah.
And I think we'll start to see, you know, going forward, you know, the little branches of couch theory in the way it like relates to Buck only, the way it relates to Eddie only, and the way it relates to both of them together.
And Christopher.
Yeah, and Christopher. So there's like,
it's all about that family unit.
There are layers here.
We are on to season 2, episode 6, Dosed, Our Beloved.
One of our favorites. So just to point out, that is also a white couch. It is a different white couch. I would say it is more indicative of Maddie's new beginnings than anything else, right? So there's that. But new beginnings, but who brought it in? Buck and Eddie. Yeah.
New beginnings for Buck and Eddie.
New beginnings.
Yay.
I also really love how
but they haven't unwrapped it yet. It was covered in plastic.
There's so many ways with that.
I know. Take from that what you will.
Wow.
I also like kind of how they were like, yeah, maybe we need to get the jaws of life and They're so like
they dumb and dumbasser. The reintroduction.
Oh, for sure. But like you can see how much they really enjoy working together. Like I besides introducing Eddie to Carla, I think this is one of the first like outside work hangout things that they've had. And it's like you can kind of see that transition of maybe we need to get the jaws of life, like the way that they work together as a team at work. It translates so effortlessly to outside of work as just pure friendship at this point.
Yes.
Debatable. But
being competent, not so much.
No.
That doesn't translate. The brain cells leave their bodies as soon as they're off the clock.
Yeah, all of their brain cells cancel each other out.
Separately, smart people. Together,
so dumb,
but resourceful sometimes.
That's true.
Very true. Endearingly.
At the same time, I do understand like being lazy and not wanting to have to take pizza off and flip the thing to get it in there.
Well, there was probably like also no other place to place it, but they could have put the pizza in the house.
They could have taken the pizza in first, but no.
It's all comedy. It's so funny. And it's
very cute.
With the moving in of the couch, that whole he's so cute misinterpretation from Buck is hilarious. Iconic.
That's big dumb but bisexual right there. That's Clifford the big red bisexual.
Yeah. It's like, I don't see Chimney that way. So
no. And it's like,
but my friend here.
And Eddie's not even the last one to leave the room. Eddie goes first, and then it's Chimney first, or Chimney next. So it's like, logistically, Maddie would be talking about the person that just left.
That she had been talking to, setting up an entire security system with, not the random guy who, like, just walked past her with pizzas.
But Buck's mind is so tunnel vision.
Eddie. But yeah, there's not a lot to this one, except that it's one of my favorite scenes. And it's just crazy that it's episode 6 of Eddie being there, period. And we've got the couch.
Yeah.
Their second time hanging out outside of work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we mean by like couch
That's
theory.
crazy work.
Couch theory goes crazy, and it transcends just season 6 when
It
you
does.
look at it. And again, was it intentional? I'm gonna say no. However, you brought it up.
Does it exist? Yes.
You brought it up in the text, so we are going to
Can talk about it.
look at all of the instances because we are nothing if not pattern recognizers.
So true. So true, bestie. Okay. On to season 2, episode 18, This Life We Choose. First of all, he is in breakup green.
It's very dark, but
It is, unfortunately,
if
green.
we were doing a color theory episode,
Well, there's a little bit of color theory in here, especially because the couches, right? And this is a black leather couch. Also, who's doing leather couches?
cool industrial
Anyone
style.
who wants to wear shorts ever? No, thank you. That's a sensory nightmare. Anyway.
Like dick, like getting on and off.
Nope.
Rachel.
Ugh. Anyway, so we have another serious conversation TM blocking situation.
Coffee
This time
table
he is on the
blocking.
couch because that's where he has to live now because he's a perpetual roommate in his own home.
So funny thing, I think for some reason this scene makes me think of the season 8 Halloween episode that I can't for some reason remember.
Yes.
Masks.
It sure does.
First of all, he's not sleeping in his bed again. But
It's the taking care of them recently only to break up. Like Tommy doesn't break up with them in that episode, but he breaks up with him
It's also
in
recoup.
the next one.
maybe then I guess it's like the unsettled, because like, I mean, when I was watching that episode, I was like just unsettled with the way Tommy was talking to him. And in this case, I'm just unsettled because, girl, I need you to get straight to the point. Because she's like beating around the bush.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't want to hurt him.
Yeah.
No.
I think she actually really cares about him.
Yeah.
But she did realize, I think that she realized, and then she told him as soon as she thought was appropriate to. Like, she wasn't going to show up at the hospital and be like, I can't do this.
She wasn't going to pull a Tatiana.
No, and I think she was still trying to figure out if she could because she really cared about him.
Yeah.
So, like, good communication, but, like, you know, he is correct. Like, you knew this about me. You knew this is what I did.
I mean, it is one thing to like know about it in like beyond the earthquake thing, like that was like a special circumstance. So it's one thing to know about it in theory, but like to realize that happens every single day and have to be faced with that kind of reality is different. And it's good that she like did some self-reflection on that. It just sucks that he's getting broken up with on the couch again. And again, with the coffee table blocking, she starts this conversation where it's not the breakup yet. When she's on the coffee table, it's only when she moves over to the couch that they start really getting into this is basically like she can't do this, right? Which is also what happened with Abby. The breakup didn't start until they were both on the couch. And it's interesting too that it is a reverse of, you know, whereas with Abby it was Buck on the coffee table and then going to the couch, and in this case it's Allie doing that, but Buck is still the one being broken up with.
And then this is the first couch that he inherits that came with a girlfriend, right? And she wasn't living with him, but she basically picked this place out for him. And I think and helped him pick out what he was furbishing it with. Because this seems way more her style than his. I mean, like, I don't know enough about her to say for sure, but
she is the interior designer.
Yes.
And it does very much match the apartment aesthetics with like the exposed brick, the industrial like light fixture under the loft. But when the episode when they when he does get the apartment, or when they're looking at this apartment, he introduces Allie as his decorator and not his girlfriend, first and foremost. So like you can kind of guess she basically picked out, maybe with his like approval, but I would imagine she was given kind of free range to like make it look nice, like a grown-up lives here, because that was also something that she mentioned, not in the scene. The conversation that they have is like, Allie wanted him to think about what was next, right? Which was also something that Abby was doing. She wanted to think about what was next, which was, you know, looking forward, looking back sort of thing. That tension of that back and forth. Abby was looking forward. Maddie was looking back, or Allie wanted Buck to look forward, but he's just right where you left him.
Yeah, this is the second time he realizes being left while on a couch with a partner, and I don't blame him for having a complex with couch.
Yeah, like post-traumatic couch.
Yeah, I was like, after this one, I'd be like, okay, I'm not even doing 2 as a coincidence. I feel like 2 is...
That's too many. That's too many.
Yeah.
So while this one, he keeps the couch, he loses the girlfriend.
Yeah, and the apartment. He's still in that apartment.
He just needs to get out of there. That is like a part of a greater conversation too about, you know, having Allie we're assuming with good reason, like picking out a lot of the furnishings for the apartment, because Buck doesn't really, and we've talked about this before in some of our actual rewatch episodes, Buck doesn't really do a lot of the decorating. He doesn't really make this space his own.
No, he never does. It is just crazy to think that he just moved into this apartment and he has to sleep on the couch for the first 3 months. Like, that's just cursed. That's cursed. Why is he still in it?
Yeah, like he doesn't even fully get to make the apartment his home. He can't even get to his bed.
Nope. It's
he's like his own guest. It's ironic that he's the one kind of like staying still in it, and people are leaving around him, because that like feeling of him being a guest in his own space is so like transitory,
which he's used to.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like he's, you know those shots in movies or TV where it's just like the character standing, and then the camera pans out like further back, and it's like the blur motion, like lots of people like walking like in a train station or something. But it's still focused on the one character like like being still, and everyone else moving around. That's what I imagine. That's how I think about Buck a lot.
Oh, just like the rotating doors of the people who come in and out of his life.
Like he's just standing there, and everything else is moving around him, and he's just there, kind of observing it all. But it has to be in like a liminal space place, you know, like a train station or an airport or anything like that.
But he also just hasn't ever picked anything for himself.
No.
Not just with his apartment or any of his couches. I'm going to argue he hasn't actually picked any of his partners.
Hasn't.
Nope.
And that's one of the issues, because people pursue him.
Yes.
And he's just like, okay. All right. Somebody wants me. So of course I'm going to, you know, not let this
ask
opportunity
them to move
slide
in with me
by.
in 6 months.
Yeah. He's not going to say no to that.
No.
Sorry, this is becoming more than couch theory. But
no, it's not, because it comes back to I don't want to pick the wrong one. And I'm like, buddy, you've never picked one.
You've never picked anything in your life.
Did we touch upon like the accessibility of this fucking apartment?
Oh, it's fucking awful.
Loft, not apartment.
Fucking awful. And he should have moved out of here after this accident.
Yeah.
Because there's no way this man doesn't have chronic pain.
He's
like,
not going to tell anybody that.
Like, in reality, I think it was like Sam, their boyfriend is a doctor, and like watched this episode and was like, he should be an amputee.
We don't watch it for the reality.
From the crush injury, right? But I'm saying, like, at the very least, this man has chronic pain. So he needs like an accessible apartment, and you can't, like, he would want something that's more accessible for Christopher too. Like,
that's where you were getting to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because like it's not like Well, this is like crack at this point, but like, it's not like if Christopher needs to crash, he can't just like sleep on a like comfortable bed, you know what I mean? Or like he has to sleep on the couch, and then that's not probably comfortable or
canonically uncomfortable couches. So
yeah. I guess what I'm getting at is like when he wants to like run away, slip over, like how we have those fanfics where that happens. It's like he's just stuck on the couch, or he has to deal with a blow up mattress.
Yeah.
I wonder then, though.
Or Buck can carry him, but I mean,
yeah. But he's so independent.
Yeah,
like, as
he
especially as he gets older,
unless he's like really, really tired. I wonder if that is kind of one of the reasons and how it comes to be that Buck ends up feeling so at home at Eddie and Christopher's house, at the Diaz house, because it is more accessible. So like anytime that Buck needs to watch Chris, it's just easier for him to go over there. So like the majority of the time, because Buck's apartment isn't as accessible for Christopher, we do see them, Christopher and the three of them hang out at Buck's apartment, but it's not for as extended periods of time. So I wonder if that does play a part in like if Buck needs to watch Christopher for a longer period of time, they're going to be at Eddie's house because that is just more accessible and like easier because it has all of Chris's stuff there and everything like that. And so that kind of like paved the way for the Diaz home to be Buck's extended home too.
That and the people.
Well, people first, but also like,
yeah,
the rest of
and
it.
The feeling, because it is a home. Also just thinking, it's like, we don't really see him spending a lot of time in any part of this apartment other than the kitchen. I think he likes the kitchen because it's huge. But like, he's making people sit in those uncomfortable ass chairs for almost every conversation.
Probably more comfortable than the couch.
Sure. And we hardly ever see him in his bed.
Only when he's super mega awesome depressed.
Yeah. Espresso depresso.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just think in general, like, I mean, at least in this fire department, you would think when you're buying a home, you should be like, I'm going to be injured sometimes. Maybe it should be accessible.
No, he wouldn't have thought about that because he didn't pick out the apartment.
No. Anyway, we're going to do season 3, episode 1, Kids Today. And we're going to start with the scene before the couch because it is relevant. So yeah, the transition from a whole scene of Chim and Maddie talking about, do they want kids? Are we the only people we know who don't have kids? Oh wait, Buck. Cut to Buck and his baby daddy.
And his adopted son. Because he absolutely does have a kid.
Yes.
Eddie bringing his kid. Done.
He said, here is your kid. It's your visitation day.
Yeah. He's hanging out
we have joint custody.
Today. Well, Christopher is on the couch, right?
Yes.
And this is the first time that we see Christopher on Buck's couch. And I think this is kind of where the Buckley Diaz family unit on the couch thing kind of begins, right? Because also Christopher is like smack dab in the middle of that couch, right? Which is kind of like ends up being his like designated spot in between his two dads. Just the way that like Chris is waiting for him and Buck and it's great because the placement of the couch under the loft, it's kind of hidden. So Buck just thinks that Eddie's there, and then turns the corner from the stairs and is like, hey.
Yeah. He goes from very bitchy, angry to, hey, I'm in kid mode now.
Yeah. With the Maddie and Chimney discussion and this whole thing, and just like the tsunami arc as a whole, and we'll kind of see through a lot of season 3. We won't know about it fully until season 4. But so much of season 3 is about what you would do for your kid.
Yes.
And so much of that of
textually set that up for Buck and Christopher.
Exactly. And like, especially when, in hindsight, we know that season 3 with Eddie begins. That's when Eddie changes his will and basically gives Buck guardianship of Christopher. That ties into it all too, because it happens in that same arc of what you would do for your kid. And the way that Buck treats Chris is like how he would treat his own.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts with that couch.
That couch is how they become a family.
Yeah.
Essentially.
All starts on that hideous black couch.
I know we're going to talk about this more when we get to this episode, actual podcast.
Yeah, the rewatch.
But like, I just think that the whole Maddie and Chimney scene, because, you know, at the end of the season, she is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So
It
it's
sets
like
that up too.
both Buckleys are getting children. Buck just gets one first, essentially.
Yeah.
So-
No, that's 100% like an intentional thing, an intended read. Like to have Buck and Maddie parallel each other like that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Insane work.
Moving right along. Season 3, episode 9, Fallout.
So yeah, that entire conversation is just like, let's be real. It's foreplay to lead up to the couch scene.
Mm-hmm. It's serious. It's a serious conversation in the kitchen, TM.
Which this episode is not about, but we will probably do one.
We will be doing that at some point.
And we see, you know, Christopher, like we had previously established in 301, Christopher in the middle, and then
Yes.
Buck and Eddie on either side. And
It's a Christopher sandwich.
it is a Christopher. And it's just so cute because they're like having so much fun and they all look so happy. And it's just like crazy that family couch game night was preceded by so much sexual tension. It's totally normal. It's totally normal, right?
For
them.
couples, yes. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're flirting because you're like, once the kids are asleep, I hate them. I hate them.
Yeah, so that's like the first time that we see all three of them on the couch together, right?
Yeah, and they're so
Mhm.
cute. They're so fucking cute. I love when Chris and Eddie gang up on Buck. They're always like high-fiving or like fist bumping.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
And
But yeah, so this is just establishing
family
the
dynamic.
family on the couch. It is written.
So it shall be. Gavel. Clunk, clunk.
It's a straight-on shot. It's very straightforward.
Yep.
The only straight part about it.
Thank you.
It's just family game night. That's all it is.
Anyway, this is season 3, episode 11, Seize the Day.
It's so cute just watching Chris and Buck horse around on the couch as Eddie looks on talking about the family that he chose. Could be nothing.
Literally the family he chose by this point. He made that shit legal.
Yes. I didn't even think about it like that.
I'm tying Buck to us whether he likes it or not.
Whether he knows it or not.
He's not gonna know. Because then I'd have to unpack all that. But yeah, it's very much. I wish they would end the seasons like this again instead of like more catastrophes. Like I love like big heartwarming. We're the found family. That's the found family show. But very specifically, you know, they're like looking into the living room, and you know, Chimney is looking at Maddie, I think, and Eddie is looking at Albert, and Eddie is looking at Chris and Buck being so fucking cute when they're roughhousing and just when getting Christopher to be so giggly because he's so great with him. And then Maddie is watching when they're like back, like when the positions are swapped and she's like then on the couch, like behind the couch with her arms over, you know, Chimney's shoulders.
Would you say
she's
she has his back?
She does. And she's watching, you know, Eddie and Buck and Christopher in the kitchen now. So it's like it's swapped.
Mm-hmm.
So like now the couples are coupled.
Yep.
But before they were looking at their significant others.
And it's just reiterated by the fact that Buck knows that he's not really a guest at the Diaz house.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's family. So
I know she wanted to be like, do you hear yourself?
I feel like that's Maddie in every conversation that
words that are
she and
coming
Buck
out
have
of your mouth right now
about Eddie, which is every conversation. Half of their conversations are about Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Are they not?
Maddie is so sick of him. She's not going to say it.
She just wants him to wake up. But yeah, it's like with Chimney talking about
having better.
It's just mirrors of like not only choosing like family as a whole, but like choosing like a mutual choosing each other with like Buck and Maddie being like, I'm glad we have each other. Like we're lucky to have each other, which can also be, brought over to Chimney and Maddie lucky to have each other. And then what's the other like part of this character triad that we're talking about? Buck and Eddie lucky that they have each other. So it's a lot of like paralleling Maddie and Chimney to Buck and Eddie. Again,
they love to do it.
They do.
But, as we said at the beginning of this season, they're establishing that Buck is Christopher's dad, and they solidified that in this episode. Literally choosing the family, like out of Eddie's own mouth while he stares at them lovingly, adoringly, one might say.
With the secret knowledge that he has made the right choice and put Buck in his will. This is why we do rewatch. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Season 4, episode 3, Future Tense.
Talk about exasperated mom, Eddie.
Yes.
The eyebrows raising, the shoulders.
Really?
Arm cross?
The arm cross.
It's so parent. Like both, but the both of them was
parents.
Like, come on. Like one of them has to be, like one of them is the good cop, one of them's the bad cop, one of them's like the easy, like, can we please go ask your mother? Like, go ask your dad.
Buck is playing good old best buddy Buck.
Yeah.
Buck.
No, I was gonna say Bobby. Anyway, best buddy Buck, not Buck.
Buck. I wonder if Christopher sings that song and changes Buck to Buck.
Would be funny.
Would be fantastic. So we see another instance of Buck and Chris on the Diaz couch. Eddie is not sitting on the couch, but it's not a serious conversation because we don't have the coffee table blocking, because Eddie is standing and he's on the other side of the coffee table. So it's like, it's not serious. This is much more lighthearted.
It's serious to him.
Yes, but in the grand scheme of things, it is not serious.
But it is, yeah. I mean, there's not much to say other than this is literally a married couple. It's literally the dad on like a weekend hanging out, playing video games. And the mom is like, I've told you that screen time's over and you need to do your chores or whatever. And it's like, can't we just have a play for another hour? Or like, can't we just go, but dad said we could go do this thing. Oh, ask your mother.
Yeah.
And like,
no,
it's literally just,
it's
just the literally exasperated mother. Like, don't even fucking try it.
It's the betrayal of like, I thought we were supposed to present a united front, which they usually are too. Yeah. So it's like, that's what also makes it so funny.
I was going to say his greatest nemesis, but it's his greatest nemesis other than all of Buck's exes.
His greatest non-humanoid nemesis.
Yeah. Except for that one fic.
Oh my God. I don't know what fic. But
basically like a genie, like God got cursed and trapped inside the Hildy that
I haven't read that one
in
yet.
Their house in the
that
coffee machine.
Hilarious, actually.
It's actually really cute, and it's funny because
I know I have it opened. I don't remember which one
I recommended it. Anyway, they're married.
Basically,
that's their kid.
Yep, that's it. Moving on.
Season 4, episode 8, Breaking Point.
Oh, this one's interesting.
This one has several scenes.
These are the scenes that make me enjoy season 4 a lot. A lot. But anyway, there's a lot to unpack here. Yeah, go ahead. There is. I was just gonna just talk about the so we have Christopher back on the couch, which we already talked about how it's like a source of comfort and having like these deep conversations and all of that. And then we have Buck, like, you know, reassuring him like that he's always going to be there. It's like just reestablishing that, you know, he's part of that family, that he can come to him for anything. And
we also get that coffee table blocking again, which means it's a serious conversation between. It's probably one of the most open conversations that Buck and Chris have, I think, because they're able to really relate on this very deep level because they have such similar abandonment issues. So like Chris is talking about how he misses everybody because everybody leaves, and Buck is like, I know exactly how
Same,
that
bestie.
feels.
We're twins.
Twins, where have you been? And so much of it is, you know, relating on that level, but also, you know, Buck is also reassuring Chris about Eddie and kind of playing that other parent role, even though they're talking about Eddie dating, but still, who does Chris go to? And it's Buck, and he sits there on his couch because that's where he belongs. When he's not at home, it's with Buck on the couch. Gosh, it's such a good conversation. And to end that with like, you know, both, you know, Buck saying, come on, tell me about it, because that's what friends do. And Chris telling him you're a really good friend. And Buck's like, I'm not going anywhere. Oh,
because Buck he never goes anywhere.
Never goes
Everyone
anywhere.
always leaves him. I did want to highlight the part because that's just what I'm doing now forever until we're done with the season, I guess, or until something happens to make me stop theorizing about this. But he says that like they go away, we miss them, we're really sad, but then we're even more happy when they come back and we get to see them again. And I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be Texas. That's going to be Eddie leaving, and he's going to spin the fuck out, get kidnapped by a serial killer, and he's going to be so happy when he sees Eddie again.
And I also kind of wonder if Chris would have had this conversation in the back of his head as well. It's like, well, I need to leave and I need to like let my dad miss me, and then it'll be so much better when I come back. Maybe
I think he needed to like space, and maybe felt like he needed to miss his father.
That too.
Maybe
I think in both ways of that.
This is really foreshadowing the whole reason that Chris left, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Buck told Eddie about this conversation. So there's no way that like he doesn't know this, but yet he keeps doing the thing where he's like, I have to find a mother for him. So then he continues this pattern where he keeps bringing more people into,
and it's just more opportunity for people to leave.
And then they leave. And then we see that exacerbated in his own dating life when he starts to date in season 7, where he's dating multiple girls.
Chris, you mean, yeah?
Chris, yes. Yeah, well, yeah, and his father. They both are in season 7. You know, and then Buck has the conversation with him, and he's like, well, what does it matter? They all leave.
So that very much plagues Chris's mind, and it's something that he and Buck really can identify with in each other. But like earlier than this, when we see Eddie on Anna's couch, which is also a white couch or cream off-white, something like that, which is also kind of like Abby's. Slightly different style, but neither here nor there. The opening shot to that with like the shoes on the floor is so funny because it's like it's a red herring. It's priming you to think that like sexy time's gonna happen or are happening or have happened. But no, it's just math. Which I guess can be sexy to some people, but it was not. It
is sexy for him because he has a cake for it. The fact that like that timer went off and he wasn't like, let me finish this kiss before I go, bro.
Crazy. But like, just like that whole scene where, you know, Anna is, you know, she's massaging his shoulders and and obviously trying to instigate more physical intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie is just
his body language.
Eddie is just focused on the math, first of all, and his body language is crazy. Like when...
Well, he's crazy.
We know. But like when they're going at a literal snail's pace into the almost kiss, his body is kind of turned away from her. His arms are crossed over his chest. Like that is textbook body language for being closed off. Even though he does like lean into her and everything like that, it's like the slowest burn of foreplay to a kiss that doesn't even happen.
And it wasn't like, oh, a kid interrupted us. Oh, there's like an emergency. It's just like, oh, I told Christopher I'd be home. It's like, you can't give her 10 seconds?
Kiss. One little kiss?
Just one little kiss?
No.
My dude, she just spent her free night teaching your ass math. She made you dinner. She looks like that. Listen, and this is his type though, like personality wise, which is people who are nerdy as hell.
So smart, really adorkable.
Yes.
And nerdy.
Yeah. And like kind of like just positive,
very
upbeat.
Optimistic.
Uh-huh.
Oh, who does that sound like?
I don't know.
Which is also interesting because we talked a little about this when we were doing our notes together. But like, I think there's a lot of understanding that like Buck and Shannon are kind of similar from what we know about Shannon and like her personality with like the yap being the yapper,
the yapping
and stuff. So like to equate Shannon to Buck personality wise, but then also Anna to Buck, which would then also equate all three of them together is similar personality wise. That is Eddie's type. And especially when you have someone as perfect on paper as Anna, but also what's the difference between all three? Which of these things is not like the other?
These things just doesn't belong.
Like Anna is actively just like trying to put herself in Eddie's space, and he is just like keeping her at arm's length.
It's like, anyway, I gotta go home and flirt with my best friend and then lie to my child.
Yeah, Eddie coming back to Buck, like parents debriefing, right? And how Buck like negotiated with Chris like a pro, like because he is a pro. All of that stuff.
I'm also looping that scene in, not just because it's in between, but I'm assuming he was sitting on the couch.
Probably. Yeah.
Waiting for Eddie to come back.
You're late.
Leans on the door jamb.
Yeah, I can't deal with that.
And then we get like the video call with Eddie and Anna is still on her couch. Eddie is not on his couch on that video call. He is in the kitchen at the table, which is not as comfortable as the couch would be, but
I don't know. He likes to do all sorts of things at that kitchen table.
Oh boy.
I've read too much of those.
Too much fan fiction.
Let us move on.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think
we covered all the things. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bring color theory into this, but I just want to note that Eddie keeps wearing green. Anyway, season 4, episode 10, Parenthood. It's funny, haha, because Peter Krause was on Parenthood. He's an executive producer of the show.
Little wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Incredible.
That's it. I think this is just mildly significant just because we never see Chris ask to sit with Eddie and Buck. It's just kind of like a given, or we already cut to them already on the couch.
It's the only time we see Eddie and a significant other who he's actually out loud dating on the couch with Christopher. Or even on his own couch, because I don't think Marisol ever makes it there.
No.
And he didn't sit on the couch with Kim or Shannon.
The only other thing I have for that one is like Anna was on the same side of Chris that Buck was the last time we saw them on the couch playing the video games. So that kind of does physically put Anna in Buck's position as well, or Buck in Anna's position, whichever way you want to slice it. And this is also the same episode. This wasn't included in the scene, but it's the same episode where Chimney asks on a call if Buck and Eddie can both be bad cops or good cops, and they're like, no, they both can't be good cops. Talking about parenthood, and so it's just more evidence of Buck being parent to Chris, but in everything except romantic sense. But there you have Anna basically being the physical like stand-in for Buck. Crazy work. All right.
We're just gonna end everything with insane work, crazy work.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I mean, that's how this episode even is existing.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, my favorite.
Season 4, episode 13. Suspicion.
Suspicion.
So can we first talk about the fluffing the pillows on the couch?
Yes, I would love to talk about fluffing the pillows on the couch.
Take it away.
When we were watching this initially, I wrote in my notes something metaphor for fluffing couch. And then I was like, oh, it's actually so obvious. He literally says he wants it to look perfect. And that's literally what he's doing with Anna. She is there because he thinks that he needs to provide this perfect family for Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Is that what Christopher wants? We don't know because nobody asks him.
We know that he doesn't want people to come into his life that are going to leave. And so if his father's going to keep fumbling perfect women, I don't think that's what he wants.
The fact that Anna is like, I think it looks exactly the same. Just like Eddie trying and doing the same stuff over and over again and not making any progress or
any actual change. It's just the copy paste.
Yeah.
It's just repeat.
It's that hamster wheel.
Yep.
Which is crazy. And she's looking at him like he's crazy. And like,
I mean, he is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the appearance, the performance, if you will, of a picture perfect family. Which is what gets Eddie into so much trouble. And I think there is something to be said about like, they're trying to impress for Carla's return, but also when Eddie and Chris go to hug Carla, Anna is kind of like on the outside, but she's trying so hard to get in on the outside, but Eddie doesn't let her in. She may have sat on the couch, but he doesn't let her in any more than that. And then, of course, we have that conversation with Eddie and Carla about, it's nice, it's easy being with her, but to make sure that, he's following his heart, not Christopher's. And
this is the start of him spinning the fuck out.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like, oh, thanks for pointing that out to me. Now that's glaringly in my face.
Yeah. So like as that scene ends and, he's looking on to what would be a perfect family on paper, the version of this family that he's made, it's not the right version. It may be the easiest version, but it's not the version that feels right. And what feels most right? The version with Buck.
It's also just like he just sits there, just like he's looking at his son and his then partner who love each other and are getting along great. And he, instead of being like, yes, I am following my heart, or I feel like I can see in future, and like looking at them fondly, how he always looks at Buck and Christopher, right? He starts, his face just falls and he gets this like blank look, like he's dissociating.
It is a look of dissociation or a look of like just discontentment and not, I don't think he fully understands why.
No, he doesn't.
And he's just like, this is perfect. It should feel perfect. Why doesn't it feel perfect?
But he's like, but why don't I like it?
He's like, maybe I just need time. It's like, no, you're gay.
Your husband is gay.
I just go to that clip from what the Unbirthday movie or something like that, where it's like the Groundhog but birthday. That's a horror movie, and she's like, "You're gay."
Oh,
that one is in my head when I'm thinking about Eddie all the time. Just like, gay. Okay, that was crazy. Moving on.
Speaking of crazy, season 4, episode 14, Survivors.
Yeah, so we see in the wake of the shooting, Buck slept over on Eddie's couch because he's taking care of Chris. And it looks like it's, not just a one-day thing. And he's really like made himself at home and made the whole couch like his little makeshift bed and everything like that. And
This is where we're tying that back to comfort. Also, like that couch being that source of that familial thing is kind of, I guess, like being close to his family. Because I remember we were talking, I think Han was like, why didn't he sleep in Eddie's bed? And we were like, maybe like, I don't remember what our response was actually, but like, I think like it wouldn't feel right. The other thing, it's kind of just like, it wouldn't feel right. And it's kind of like, I don't know, not like infiltrating, but kind of just like, we don't know the outcome. So it's like,
yeah.
And just to put it in the perspective of the will again, like if God forbid Eddie hadn't woken up, like that would have been their new normal, right? Because Chris would have gone to Chris, or Buck would have been in charge of Chris, and it's
these
like
fics go so hard. I was just like, these fics go so hard.
They do, and
he's like in a coma, or Eddie's in a coma, and Buck has to anyway.
Yeah, so like that would have been their new normal. Buck doesn't even know about the will yet because they find out at the end of the episode. And then we have, to mirror the Eddie and Carla one-on-one, now we have a Buck and Carla one-on-one. They're not talking about the same thing, but like Buck is the one, again, to bring up Eddie, about how the team feels off without Eddie. Like everything feels off without Eddie. And in that last conversation, one sec, sorry. In that last conversation, with Eddie and Carla and the whole, Eddie looking at everything but something feeling off, that's left unsaid. Whereas this one is like explicitly stated. So I can't help but draw that parallel too. Things feel off without the other.
Yes. But also, it's kind of like, it's not the same conversation because she didn't say the same thing, but he gave the answer to the thing that she said to Eddie. She said, make sure you're following your heart. And he just dissociates instead of saying like, I am, or I will. And then she's asking Buck something completely different. And the first thing out of his mouth is literally his heart. Like what is on his mind is his heart. Because his heart is aching because,
with Eddie.
Wow. Carla talks about, how is it getting back out there, which can be taken in two ways, right? The getting back out there as in like getting back out there on the job that has like a very real threat, on the loose, essentially. But also, how else do you hear that phrase, getting back out there, in dating terms? So it's like, in which capacity does Buck think about the getting back out there? And his brain immediately goes to, well, without Eddie, everything feels off. So that's like, in getting back out there, in which capacity, dating or work without their usual partner, and how it's kind of like all encompassing in this instance. Like, see all of the above. That secret third option.
And this is the episode that he and Taylor finally kiss, and then she leaves, and then he's about to go after her, but then he gets the call that Eddie's awake. Insane work.
Also, can I just say, we're not even talking about this episode, but just what a crazy time to kiss someone. What a crazy time to trying to be starting that relationship that you were like maybe skirting around doing when they're like very vulnerable and their best friend is possibly dying. Yeah. Super strange.
Next.
Season 5, episode 9, past his prologue. So this is the first time we see Buck on the couch with a significant other, and they aren't leaving him.
Progress.
Took 5 seasons.
That's bad. That's bad.
Yikes.
Is that the only time that we see Buck and Taylor on a couch together?
Think so.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, like, this is the first time we see Buck and Taylor on the couch together, or Buck and a significant other on the couch together when they're not leaving. It's not the coffee table blocking, even though this is a very serious conversation, but it is interesting because
it's not a serious conversation about their relationship or, you know what I mean? Something that's like interpersonal between them.
Yeah.
It's him giving comfort to her.
Yes. But it's also, they're not looking at each other at all in this conversation.
I don't think she could talk about it if she was looking at him.
No, but it's just like, it's just one of those, just want to point it out that, you know, he's offering comfort.
Yeah.
She's talking, but there's no comfort in like the eye contact. It's only physical, you could say, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to point out in some of the previous, like the coffee table blocking couch situation, like some of those, especially the first one with Maddie, like I always like it's akin to me, it's like kind of like a confessional in a way.
Ooh.
So a lot of their interactions, anyone who's doing like that blocking, I think, especially if they're not necessarily meeting the eyes.
Yeah, if they're not like right in front of each other.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Ooh, good call.
But in this scenario, there's confessing, but there's not like, I guess with the eye contact, there's like that level of closeness that we're not necessarily getting, even though, but it's mostly just comfort for her anyways. So,
but there isn't with eye contact with something like that. That does give an extra level of intimacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah.
Next,
onward.
Season 5, episode 13, Fearophobia. The only thing Buck has ever done wrong in his life.
Asked Taylor to move in after
he kissed Lucy.
He trapped her.
Yeah.
He 100%. Like, maybe he wasn't consciously doing it, but like he omitted information and was like, I need to hold on to this, and asked her to move in.
Yeah.
That was nasty work.
That was nasty work. That's like the only thing that we can't defend.
That's what I'm saying. It's the only thing he's ever done wrong in his life. I can't defend that. I understand why he did it.
Oh, it's understandable.
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
And even she was like, I understand that you're scared of people leaving you. Like she gets it, but she's like, but you trapped me.
Yeah. So it's interesting though that like, so this whole episode is like Taylor moving in and then all of a sudden they have 2 couches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like they're juggling 2 couches, kind of like Buck is juggling
2 girls.
2 girls a little bit. Or
yeah, and it's interesting that she has a blue couch.
Who else has a blue couch?
But it's not the right blue couch, and it doesn't really look that comfortable.
No.
It's not the right style of couch.
It's very like, it looks like it's like that velvety, like
It's a Chesterfield.
pretentious.
Yeah.
Which is like the upholstered with like the little buttony things that make it like that is called a Chesterfield. Just so you know. This has been
interior design with Rachel. Thank you.
This has been your Wikipedia fact of the day. So when Taylor moves in and they're talking about how now they have 2 couches, right? And Buck is like, okay, well, obviously, I guess we're going to keep yours because
it's the one we just brought in here. Yeah. She's the boss.
And he doesn't have an attachment to his couch. So like, he's not going to.
No, because it's Sally's couch.
But what does Taylor suggest? Or Buck is like, I guess I'll ask people at the firehouse if anybody wants to buy a couch. And Taylor's like, well, how about that new firefighter, Lucy, which is equating another like romantic interest of Buck's to couch, which is crazy work. There is no romantic interest that Buck has that is not connected to couch.
It's bringing in some sort of weird re-gifting metaphor.
Yeah.
He was cheating on 2 people when he kissed Lucy.
Let's be real. And then in that second scene, you know, Taylor is on her blue couch. It's not where Buck's is because they haven't moved that couch out of the way yet. It's like on that opposite kind of wall, a little over to the side. So it's already out of place, right? Kind of like their entire relationship.
It doesn't belong there.
It doesn't belong. They do sit on this couch and they do like have eye contact, but you know.
Not a great way to start out the living together part of your relationship with someone.
No.
I think this would have warranted a move right back out way more than the Marisol thing.
Absolutely. And I think the only reason why Taylor didn't...
Because she just broke her lease.
Exactly.
She was like, you literally trapped me.
Yeah. And then, interesting too, we didn't include it because it's not couch, but that this is the same episode that Eddie has his panic attack and Buck runs over. So just like, you know, having that, you know, juggling of couches. So Buck is juggling the Lucy thing, the Taylor thing. Oh, and now also the Eddie thing. And who is he going to be there for? And it's always
going to be Chris and Eddie first.
Yeah. Oh, so this Taylor's couch is the third couch that he has not picked out for himself, including Abby's, Allie's, Taylor's. 3 for 3 is...
He didn't pursue any of these women either.
No.
He just was like, oh, they're interested in me. That makes me feel seen.
Well, he doesn't pursue anyone except Abby, kind of.
He's pursuing to make their relationship more serious, and he's pursuing to
but he did not pursue the relationship.
No.
Yeah, he was minding his own business, and then she called him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he was like, I like talking to you. Let's keep talking and only talking.
And then Allie's the same thing. He was minding his own business, and then she called him.
Business.
And then Taylor, I think it's kind of the same thing too.
And Lucy went and kissed him.
Just minding his own fucking business. Oh, just ongoing on my list with Tommy, Buck was minding his own business in his loft, and this man just shows up and kisses him.
Which is so weird for him to even show up in the first place. just like Abby. It's so weird for her to call him.
Again, it's the same thing, because then like once his eyes are open to like, oh, something with that person, with either Abby or Tommy, like after the date gone bad, which was not his fault, that is his pursuing of Tommy, but it's not the same thing. So I know we talk a lot about like,
that's not pursuing, that's grasping.
Yeah.
Trying not
to let things go. It's like a redo. But I know we talk a lot about like when Buck and Eddie get together, like Eddie needs to choose and Buck needs to feel chosen. I mean, it has to be mutual. And that's like one of like some of the beauty of their relationship, because Buck also actually needs to choose.
Like, I'm on that camp, actually.
Actively choose. They both need to actively choose, and they both need to actively feel chosen. And it's just like, it's perfect.
Do you think that looks like Buck confessing and Eddie pursuing him, or do you think it looks like the other way around?
I don't know. It depends on the day.
That's a good answer.
Well,
it does depend
but if
on
the thing
day.
is that they have to feel like they're both being chosen, but we really also want Buck to actually actively pursue someone.
I feel like the pursuing in this scenario is just trying to get him to stay. Like we have to get through that hurdle first.
Yeah, because I kind of agree, because if Buck actually like ponies up and
puts his fucking foot down
and is like
the only person he has to say other than Maddie, and that would be really showing how equally important
Eddie is to Buck.
Eddie is to him, that he's willing to risk that level of rejection.
Exactly.
And not just to cling to them to make them stay, but to be like, why would you leave? Like, that doesn't seem like a logical choice for you to be making.
Yeah. I think this would kind of have to be after, Buck has basically agreed to let Eddie go, because it's like, that classic adage of if you love something, let it go and it'll come back to you. Sort of thing. So like Buck has to let go because he has to like, deal with the people leaving sort of thing. But afterwards, he can also be like, come back, not just for me, but like for the life we've built, for the family that we have. And then maybe Eddie can be like the pursuer in the more
pursuer
romantic
after that.
sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think that is important for Eddie as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's also not really. He has to get coached by his son anyway.
Sorry, that went off the rail.
It did. That was a little my fault. Okay. Season 5, episode 14, Dumb Luck. So we once again have the blocking for the very serious conversation. And this
Coffee
is
table
again
blocking.
foreshadowing for me. Because they keep reinforcing that this is the blocking for how the serious conversations go. Right.
That aren't in the kitchen.
And we'll talk about it when we get there.
But first of all, Eddie wakes up on his couch from a nightmare where it's supposed to be a place of like comfortability and
safety.
And also, this is the morning after. Did Buck go home?
No.
Or where did Buck sleep?
I don't think Buck slept.
He probably didn't. I wonder if he slept in the chair, just like watching.
Watching?
Mhm.
That sounds like it. That's what I'd be doing if I came over to that and I had like 10 seconds where I thought that my friend might be gone.
Yeah, I wouldn't take my eyes off him.
No, I'd be sitting in the chair staring at them.
Which is also like with Buck taking Christopher too.
And that's why Bobby's there.
Cool.
He was not
Bobby's
leaving Eddie alone.
Exactly. Yeah. He slept so good.
And he knew that Bobby was someone who would be more equipped to have that conversation with him, I think.
Yeah. And also, I know it's not the same, but I think there can be a parallel drawn about, talking about people leaving on couches or having conversations about people leaving on couches. In effect, all of Eddie's platoon dying is kind of leaving him because he's still there. He's the one left. They are all gone. So here we have another instance of a conversation about people have left in some capacity. Obviously, this is in a much more permanent sense than anything else so far, because now we can draw parallels to Eddie feeling left. In this sense, we already know he felt left with the whole Shannon thing, but like specifically with conversations on the couch. Eddie feeling left behind, Chris feeling left behind, and missing people, and Buck feeling left behind and missing people. So we have all three of them now having conversations on the couch with that coffee table blocking, just being abandoned.
I think this is more survivor's guilt, but I see where you're going.
Yes, of course. I mean, they didn't go on their own free will, but that feeling of being like the only one still there, or just being still there, I think is not exact, but it's related.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Then we have season 5, episode 17, Hero Complex.
It's very noticeable, like the seating arrangement. So, and it makes sense to have, Chimney and Hen with her, but it's weird to have her in the middle a little bit, but it's also weird to not have her sitting with Buck. But I feel like this is like where we have like the beginning of that distance, and that they're definitely not in a united front, especially with those little quips here and there.
Because Buck is playing the devil's advocate, right?
Yeah,
which he doesn't usually do.
No,
right. And also because Hen and Chimney are withholding the actual reason why they're there. And he's like, we're not going to tell anyone, right?
Right.
And she's
the way he looks at her.
Oh, me? Like, oh no, not me. I'm not going to say anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like Taylor sitting in between Hen and Chimney is like her being so invested in this potential scoop, this potential mystery, that she's just focusing on that. She wants front row center view.
She wants the story, and they want to save people.
But that is the disconnect there, and that's why Buck is on the other chair.
I just put He's not sitting on the blue couch because that's not the blue couch he wants.
Just doesn't know it yet.
Not the blue couch he wants. But actually, he sits on the black chair, which kind of matches the previous, his previous black couch. Yeah. And it's not even the lighter brown leather seat that represents like his singledom, right? It's interesting too that he's maybe like holding on to the previous, the connection to the previous couch, like before Taylor moved in. Like this was maybe a mistake.
Season 5, episode 18, starting over. I feel really bad for her in this. Like, it's simultaneously not and do. Because it's like, she is right. She said, I am what I say on the tin. Mm-hmm. And he was like, no, I see a better. We talked about this in our TTPD, the second special? First one? I don't know. One of them.
I can fix it.
I can fix them. No, really, I can. Yeah, but like that whole conversation is so harsh. Like he is just so detached already. And he is just like being so cold. But just like the way he's setting her up in that conversation to like lead her on to think that like he's trying to work towards, a reconciliation. But he's not at all. It's like pulling her into like this false sense of security and then yanking the rug out from under her feet. Like, I thought I could learn to live with it. And she was like, I don't want to be something that you have to learn to live with.
Yeah. Which is totally fair.
And then he's like, I need things to be different. I can't keep making the same mistakes. So he basically was like, you're a mistake.
Yeah.
You're something that I tried to learn to live with, but couldn't. And then is like, I need a clean slate. Not with you.
That idea and concept of, I keep making the same mistakes. I need things to be different really does carry on into the beginning of season 6, which is how the whole couch theory happens, right? Because he doesn't want to make the same mistake again. And he doesn't, even though they're not on the couch in this scene, it's the breakup. And that's how the couch leaves
the apartment.
He is couchless.
It's the event that starts
the inciting event for season 6, the OG couch theory to start is this breakup because she brought in the second girlfriend couch, made him get rid of the other couch, and then he broke up with her. And so of course she took her couch with her.
So I feel like this is a mirror to 413 Suspicion, where Eddie is fluffing the couch and, Anna says her line, well, it still looks the same, which we've established. It's like, it's still that routine, being in that hamster wheel type of situation. When Buck is delivering that breakup, he says, I want things to change. And then, the whole like clean slate type of thing. So I feel like they're both in that thing where like they parallel in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because they're both searching for a thing, not realizing that thing is literally right in front of them. They already have it.
Yeah.
Which also is brought up in 601.
That was when the seeds were planted in Eddie for him to basically realize that he is not happy with Anna, and then paralleling to Buck breaking up with Taylor. Yeah. Because nothing has changed.
Which also, is that the only breakup so far that Buck has made the break?
Yes.
And it doesn't happen on a couch.
No, but he loses a couch because of it. He's couchless because of it.
But the breakup doesn't happen on the couch because he is doing the breaking up.
Unless you want to count him not waiting for Abby anymore. I don't think that counts.
No. Their breakup was on the couch. He just didn't realize that's what it was.
No.
So that's also interesting too, because it's, set up a pattern, break pattern. And then, with Tommy, they don't break up on the couch.
Well, the previous episode was the bones pillows on the couch. So.
Couch of death. Literally, there were skeletons on the pillows.
Life and death.
Oh, the couch of life and death. Baby, let the games begin. Let the games begin. The games.
Okay. Anyway, this is season 6, episode 1. Let the games begin. If you couldn't tell,
AKA
by whatever that just was.
The beginning of couch theory.
Yes, this is
the one.
This is the origin story. This is
what we came here for.
This is the creation of couch theory.
The birth.
All right. We got a lot to unpack here.
Sure do. There's a lot going on in that conversation.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even subtext. It's just two
it's fully
idiots
in the text.
saying the quiet part out loud and not understanding what they're fucking saying to each other.
They're using a very
Crazy.
thinly veiled metaphor. Like, it's not even veiled. They're just using a metaphor.
No. So yeah, obviously there's no sitting on the couch
No.
in this episode at all.
But
it's
we're
all
talking
about
about
the
it.
couch, right? Because we're coming back to it. The
Mhm.
couch is home. It's safety. It's comfort.
It's relationships.
It's relationships.
It's partnership.
Mhm. I think it's weird that he's struggling to pick a replacement when he has so many other excellent options right under his nose.
Mm.
Huh.
Interesting. It's like he's choosing not to see them and everything they have to offer.
Like, this conversation, the whole thing is metaphor, right? And there are mixed.
It's just a metaphor for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in this case, he's talking about like
The
the
couch is a
interim
partner.
he's talking about like the interim captain
Yes.
sort of thing,
Mhm.
which isn't exactly related to the couch, but what they say after relates it to the couch
Mhm.
because Christopher makes that connection 1st and foremost. So then you have to link all of what Buck has just said about interim captain stuff to relationship things.
He's also already, before the couch is brought up, he's already equating it to a relationship because he's very much, why am I not getting chosen by the people I want to get chosen by?
Mm-hmm.
Like Bobby. No one else. Obviously, this is about Bobby.
Oh, I'm so sure.
Uh-huh. But yeah, so it's already him, not veiled at all, talking about relationships. I think it's weird he's struggling to pick a replacement. He has so many other excellent options.
Right under
his nose.
Right under his nose.
That is not how he would, like, if he was not even subconsciously, he's thinking about this shit, right? A lot. And that's why he's talking like this. I don't think he's talking like this on purpose, but it's just that it's just like just under the surface of his mind. And so that's just how it's coming out because that's how Buck works.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no subtlety. There's no finesse, even if it's lost on him.
It's talking about the whole concept in a very abstract way.
Yes. It's not that abstract, but yeah.
No, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like we're kind of not talking about it, but we are talking about it.
If you took out the beginning of that whole conversation where he says, I don't understand why he's having trouble, like where he's talking about the interim captain, and you just played that conversation for someone, they would be like, he's passive aggressively being like, why don't you see me? I'm right under your nose. Like,
yeah. It's interesting though, too, because at that point, like Buck is like, it doesn't bother you that you weren't chosen either. And Eddie's just like, no, doesn't bother me.
he doesn't want to be chosen by women.
Because he does, and he's not looking, right?
No.
He's not looking, and
Because he
just
has what he
doesn't-
wants right there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it works so well from both angles, from like Buck's POV and Eddie's POV about the, it's right under your nose sort of thing. It's right in front of you, right under your nose,
Mhm.
as they're having this very like chill kind of domestic evening with all three of them as Buck is, making the lasagna. We won't get into the lasagna theory.
No, you
But-
guys are going to have to vote on that for another full episode because we can talk about lasagna
Oh, yeah.
for a little while.
And he's like, what are you offering? Which
That's an
Is-
insane line.
crazy to
Crazy
ask.
work. We need to do a counter for how many times the final cut ends up being us saying crazy work.
That's crazy. No,
Take
it's
a
crazy
shot.
work. It's because even that line works on multiple layers that we're talking about with this metaphor, right? We're talking about like, what are you offering as like an interim captain? What are you offering as a like for a partnership in a relationship?
Yep.
And then you have like the, you know, he's taking out the lasagna and it's like, you know, perfect little housewife Buck. But like for Eddie to ask that, it's like, what are you offering? And it's like, they're both so kind of blind right now to what is right under their noses, that in the greater context of like Buddie makes this conversation so wild, and to have like this be like the couch metaphor, the couch theory that really kind of takes on a life of its own. No wonder people were really like glomming onto that, right? Even in the press.
So intentional.
It's so pointed.
Yeah. It's
Like,
reminding me of how intentional some certain things are in season 8. You know what I mean? After it's like, well, what are you offering? And he has the lasagna and he's like, that actually looks good. Okay.
right under his nose.
Cool. What do they have that I don't have? Is what Buck says.
Yeah. And Chris gives the most savage line.
He has the best one-liners on this show, I swear to God.
And we know where he gets it from, because Eddie is so sassy, but like Chris just really, Eddie's is more like subdued, like under his breath, and Chris is just like, I'm gonna tell you like it is. Yeah. And thank God for that.
Smiling and laughing while he does it.
Yeah.
Because he knows
what makes
hilarious.
it. I know it's.
And it's just like, so Chris is the one that connects the, you know, the stuff about feeling like he's not being chosen for interim captain to the couch. But then Buck makes that other connection of couch to girlfriends. So it all kind of like coalesces together. We're talking about one thing, and that is equating a couch to a relationship, which also equates to like the maturity and growth, which would allow Buck to, you know, be a potential pick for a relationship partner and an interim captain sort of thing. It's all like intermingled together. And the way that Buck phrases it is very specific too. With his last 2 couches came with girlfriends.
Yes. And then Eddie's like, I think you mean that the other way around. Strike that, reverse it.
But Buck doesn't mean it that way, because in his mind, the couch is like, I don't want to say like the more important part, but it's like how would you delineate that? You know, it's like he's divorcing. It's like he's divorcing the relationships.
I think it's just as simple as they leave, but the couch stays normally.
Okay.
Normally, except for Taylor.
That helps a lot more. Thank you. Yeah.
Which, I mean, like, she was right to take her fucking couch, because he was a little, I mean, like, still fuck her for what she did, but like, that was a rough breakup, man. I would take my couch too.
It didn't go with his decor either.
It did not look right
match
in there at all. And that was so purposeful. Come on.
So with girlfriends leaving and the couch staying, that's why the couch is the lasting memory of those relationships. And that's why he equates it in that way. Couch first.
Yeah, so like the couch becomes a part of his life, but the relationships leave.
The couch is the only thing to stay.
They are fleeting.
You know, when Buck responds again, he's like, well, maybe I don't want to pick the wrong couch again. It's like, sweetie, honey, baby, you never picked a couch in the first place.
Couch. You never even picked a relationship, my man.
To pick one again. So
you've had people show interest in you and you go, okay, yeah, sure, this one in front of me here.
This will do because they're interested in me.
That's not picking someone.
No.
That's literally settling. That's settling for someone.
That's thinking that he's being chosen. And this is what we see all the time with Buck, that he thinks that he's being seen.
But he's not.
By someone.
That's all he wants to do.
don't actually see him.
I'm sorry. My brain just went, I wouldn't marry me either, a pathological people pleaser who only wanted you to see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, he just wants to be seen. So yeah, he does. He sees the interest as being seen because he's, used to no one actually paying him attention.
So he doesn't do any of the active choosing.
No.
And that's why his last 2 couches have come with girlfriends, because he hasn't chosen a girlfriend, technically speaking, or chosen a couch. This is how like the couch theory metaphor is like solidified, right? And it's right there in the text. And it's so, I am kind of a fan of when there are kind of glaringly obvious metaphors in text.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, this is an important point, and we're going to make sure that everybody understands what we're actually talking about, right? Rather than like,
I like when it's glaringly obvious to the audience, but the people who the metaphor is about fucking clueless.
Oh yeah. And that's the
important.
beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, because like we as the viewer are watching going like, right under your noses. It's right there. Choose the couch. This couch. It comes fully furnished, whatever.
What does it have to offer? It's already the father of your child. You put it in writing. You baby trap that man.
Yeah. And it's just like, and to have the characters talk about it so explicitly, not like explicitly, like it's right there in the text, and just have it still go like whoosh right over their heads is also kind of what's so infuriatingly delicious about it. Because that's what a slow burn is.
Yes.
Oblivious idiots, right?
It's men.
So.
What? It's men. That's one of my, other than just really liking, because as a queer person, I like to see other queer stories. But one of the reasons I really like MLM relationships is because there's so much angst because men are so stupid. What I said.
Can't you?
These are 2 of the stupidest.
They're so smart.
They're so smart.
They're
so
the
smart,
most
oblivious fucking people in the world.
So dumb.
How are you literally married?
In everything
literally
but
married,
legality.
Raising a child. Yeah.
I mean, still kind of technically a little bit in legality because he's in the will, but like everything except the marriage certificate.
Yeah.
I mean, they're this close
fucking
to common
idiots.
law, right? Like, I know they don't have common law in California.
Common law doesn't exist anymore, but I mean, in a lot of states where it does exist, it's normally like 5 to 7 years. So yeah.
So that whole conversation where couch theory is born, and especially in like the first episode of the season, it really sets up and
setting it up.
It sets it up for like the rest of the season. But also in season 6, where so much of Buck's storyline is about finding happiness, it really sets this up as well, right? Because so much of his happiness, or what he perceives as what will give him the most happiness, since he has a job that he loves, he has a family that he loves, extended family, is that last missing piece, which would be a romantic relationship. But it's right under his nose. Which also kind of makes that second scene at the end of this episode interesting too, because he's like, forget about the couch. I'm going to try to be happy on my own, which is very important. And it's
important.
It's an important journey for anybody to go on, because like, in order to love someone else, you have to love yourself first. And so he just, in continuation of this metaphor, he takes the armchair, which is a solo seater, right? And just like, well, he hoists it up so like effortlessly. That is a large chair. And he's just like, boom.
Yes.
Like takes 2 giant
Clifford the Big Red Bisexual.
He takes 2 giant giraffe steps and puts it where the couch is supposed to be. It's literally like whoop, whoop. Yep. 2 steps. His legs are so long. So it's this solo seat where the couch is supposed to be. So it's like he's focusing on himself, which isn't a very important journey for him to go on. And he looks so like content about that for now.
He does. He looks slightly insane a little bit. Sitting there
because he doesn't have a
his-
couch.
Yes, well, sitting on the armchair, just like smiling at nothing.
I mean,
No one's there. There's nothing.
That's a TV thing. That's a TV
He looks
thing.
insane. I don't care. I treat this as it's real when I'm talking about it. He looks insane.
It's giving girl
A
who's
little
gonna
bit.
be okay.
Yes. Oh yeah, that is one of his Buck who is
That's one
going to
of
be
his
okay
looks.
smiles.
It's like it's like that kind of like contented exhale with that kind of slightly endearingly dopey smile where it's like,
Mhm.
that's what it is.
He's so cute.
We see that all the time when he thinks that he's found something
Mhm.
or discovered something that's going to like fix his life.
Better fix my entire life, you piece of shit. So yeah, I really think that this whole journey for him started with that reflecting before he broke up with Taylor.
Yes.
And then ultimately why he broke up with Taylor. He's like, I
Things
need
to be
things to
different.
change. I need to stop making the same mistakes. Does he keep making the same mistakes? Yes. But it's
But he
the
has
intention and there's
more
self-awareness
awareness.
happening. It's good. We love to see it.
So he is aware now that there is a hamster wheel, right? It's
Mhm.
in his mental perception. He doesn't know that he's still on it. That awareness only goes so far.
I think he knows he's still on it now.
Yeah. You mean now in season 8?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but at this point,
Yeah, at this point, no.
when he has verbalized like I need things
Mhm.
to be different,
Also, it was different because
still
he
haven't been.
broke up with
Taylor.
he was the person who instigated the breakup for the first time. He chose to end things for himself.
Yeah.
So
Now he just
That's
needs
growth.
to choose to start things.
like actually choose.
Yeah. Before we go into the next clip, I've been mentioning that, even press during these episodes had kind of
Mm-hmm.
brought up couch theory in interviews with Oliver and the showrunner Kristen Rydell at the time. So there was an article from Entertainment Weekly. It came out about the season 6
Mhm.
premiere because that was this episode. And the headline is, Oliver Stark on Buck's new single life and what's to come in season 6. So kind of like anticipatory about the season going forward, whatever
Mhm.
they could tell him. And they talk about the season 6 premiere ends with Buck deciding not to get a new couch to replace the one that Taylor took with her, but rather move his chair into that place. And then Oliver Stark says there's some symbolism in the sense that it's a one-person seating situation. And he mentions that they discussed whether or not he would be dragging the chair over or if it was going to be picked up and put down, and the differences that implied. So he says in the end, they went with the picking it up because it's a much stronger, this is my life now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing
More
once he
decisive.
Yes, the same thing once he sat down too. He said they played it a couple different ways where one of them was kind of like there's doom and gloom ahead of me, or a little smile creeping across his face and I'm ready to do this. And he said that he was glad that that second option, that little like dopey girl's going to be okay smile. Our words, not his, obviously. He said he was glad that was the option they went with. It's much more hopeful and
Mhm.
that Buck is ready to take on the challenge of becoming his own man. So by talking about it in interviews, that also really solidifies that the writers, the showrunners, the cinematographers, like everyone involved,
Mhm.
the actors are fully aware that this is a metaphor for, well, I don't think they necessarily think or know that it's about Buddie, but I mean, for what it symbolizes for them.
The showrunner didn't, but
The
the
showrunner
writers
didn't.
absolutely did.
Yeah.
They could have written it a different way, and they
Mhm.
wrote it that way.
But
That was a choice.
in essence, they are fully aware and they are hammering it home
Mm-hmm.
very hard about this metaphor and the symbolism of the couch and the chair and what that means for Buck then he talks a little bit more about like what's going to happen more in season 6. And then the interviewer asks at the very end is like, well, is Buck going to get a couch? And Oliver teases, he says, well, I'll tell you this much. We're on episode 7 and he hasn't yet. So you can see how this really started snowballing into a thing like, okay, couch watch. When is he going to get a couch? Because that indicates, that he's ready for a relationship or that he's chosen a relationship. There's this conversation of meta-analysis that's happening very much at the forefront as opposed to, on Twitter and Tumblr spaces, right? Because it's in the very public like interview press stuff, which doesn't always go that deep in like the symbolism of certain elements of episodes, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why everyone's just like couch all the time. There's a couple more that I'll share when we get to that as well. So it's just so interesting. He's like, yeah, the symbolism is like, the symbolism. Yeah.
I just love Oliver Stark.
He's a girly that gets it.
Okay, this is season 6, episode 9, Red Flag.
So that one's a little all over the place, but
Eddie is the one on the couch at this one, so I feel like we should focus on Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not.
So
he's not on the couch.
Well, part of him is on the couch.
It's touching the couch.
He's leaning on the couch. That's still on the couch.
Floor with his back against the couch.
Oh my God.
What? This is important.
I know, but I'm still saying he's still technically on the couch.
Listen, I'm just gonna reach
Part of
and
him
say
is on the couch.
Okay, but he's on the floor. He's
is
floored.
His face was giving floored.
Doesn't want to congratulate him.
Yeah.
No.
So first of all, he's playing the same video game that the three of them were playing in 309 Fallout. The last time we saw that was Buck and Chris playing in Future Tense 403.
So Eddie is on the floor because he's floored in front of the couch, playing this game that we've never seen him play by himself. And
because it's always connected to Chris and
Buck.
So maybe he played it because it reminded him of them. And he couldn't sleep. So something to like take his mind off of.
Really cute.
That is cute.
New headcanon confirmed.
And then who should call but Buck? But it's Buck and Company. And then Buck is telling you that he has artificially inseminated someone.
Yay!
And he's like,
seems weird.
Seems weird
to congratulate
him. And he makes it a joke, but like he does not congratulate him.
Yeah.
And he leaves before like the conversation continues to ask him how he's doing, how he feels about it. Right? He just did not seem to want anything to do with this. He was just like, seems weird. Okay, I have to go. Bye.
Yeah. And it's like, we could look at it from many angles, right? We could look at it with like, I think if we interpret a sense of like some sort of consciousness about like, it's weird that Buck would now have a child of his in the world, right? Even though it's not his, biologically speaking. And maybe that makes Eddie feel a little kind of like weird and uneasy because like Buck is supposed to be part of their family. I don't know that would be anything like super conscious, like a conscious thought in Eddie's head, but I think it is kind of happening a little bit. His reaction is a little different to Hens and Chimneys, where they're more just kind of like surprised.
They're like jaw dropped, like forward, and he's like,
he's a little bit more like skeptical almost.
Yeah.
Right? Because he doesn't go straight to like Chimney goes straight to the congratulation, maybe. Because again, it's not technically Buck's. So to have Eddie just kind of be a little more hesitant about it is an interesting reaction to see as well.
Well, when you connect like the will and Buck being Christopher's
guardian if something were to happen to Eddie. It's kind of like, I mean, again, reaching and theoretically speaking, like if something were to happen to the kid,
Connor or Cameron,
whatever their names are having, and for some reason something happens to them and the kid somehow ends up with Buck, it's kind of like, hey, I picked you to be a guardian of my kid first. I don't know. That's reaching though.
It's kind of like I've staked my claim.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I already gave you a kid. Why did you feel the need to do this? And I feel like this is my headcanon, is that I think fandom as a whole kind of didn't like that he did this. Because I think like for Buck's character, not to get too much into it, the whole thing was him getting drunk with Hen, and the crux of it was like, can you be a father without being a dad, basically. I was immediately like, no. When Syl and I were watching this together, I was like, well, no, obviously. And then he does the thing, and I have just never gotten over it because it makes no fucking sense. And I just feel like Eddie, who knows him best, other than maybe Maddie, but knows him better in some ways too,
is the one who's most skeptical about this for Buck's sake, I think.
Yeah.
Because he knows firsthand how invested and how quickly Buck gets invested because
how deeply he cares.
And how deeply he cares because they hadn't known each other for very long at all. And Buck already, got Eddie in touch with Carla to like help him out and was comforting him. Like some of their first shifts with the earthquake and everything like that. So it's just like, I think there is also a little bit of concern for Buck as well. Not like a little bit of selfishness, right? But
it's
also
a little bit of that
concern.
unconscious, subconscious unease that we're talking about. But I feel like it's more like unease for Buck with that underlying like, what? This makes me feel icky, so I don't want to address it because I am holding my tongue about it.
That.
Yeah.
After that whole conversation, we see that Eddie has fallen asleep on the couch. So he hasn't made it to the bed. I think he does say that like Chris should be up in an hour, but like you're not going to go to bed. You're just going to like
still lay down in bed.
Hop onto the couch. At
least he wasn't sleeping on the floor.
At least he wasn't sleeping on the floor. Yeah, but it also didn't look very comfortable either. The way he was like contorted there. And,
no, it's like he fell asleep playing it because the controller fell out of his hand onto the floor.
So, I mean, at some point he did move up to the couch, right? Which is just more like if we're going with the kind of thought that maybe he was playing the game because it reminded him of Christopher and Buck when they're not available at the moment. So like by doing that on the couch where it's that game is typically being played by Christopher and Buck, like that's just like another kind of stronger connection to them.
Well, and it's that comfort home safety thing. And who's always on his couch? Buck and Christopher. So it's well, that was weird. Everything was already weird and that was weirder. So I'm going to sleep in the place that,
feels comforting.
Normal. Feels comfortable. Feels safe.
And we didn't include this in our little clip, but I think, Han, when you and I were watching together, after that, it does show shots of Hen and Karen, asleep finally. And then Maddie and Chimney also asleep finally. And then it
together in bed together because couples,
couples relationship. But then it has both Eddie and Buck solo, and Eddie is on the couch, but Buck is in the bed, so not technically on the bed.
And they cut from Eddie to Buck, so like the controller falls and then it cuts to Buck.
So visually, even though they're not physically together in that scene, visually with those cuts, it is putting them together like Hen and Karen, like Maddie and Chimney. It's that visual connection. And also kind of interesting that we see Buck in the bed, which we don't normally see him in, as opposed to the couch, because when he was on the phone, he was downstairs in the kitchen. And maybe that can also represent how Buck is kind of like in a different place right now, because he's like, yes, I've helped create new life. So I'm content.
Yeah, he's in his just say yes era, and the just saying yes has led him to a place where he has helped two people and like make their family dreams come true. And it's all very still kind of like, it's not fully real to him yet because the baby isn't there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's getting sonograms and getting to go to doctor's appointments. You know what I mean? Like, it's
still
very
very
like conceptual. Yeah.
Abstract.
But in this moment, he thinks that he's like, I feel good. Like, because he feels like he was useful and did a good thing. He feels like he always needs to be doing something that's going to benefit people in order for them to, you know, anyway. But he's like, I can finally sleep. He feels good about that. So he's in the bed because he does feel good right now. And he's in a different place. Whereas Eddie is feeling a little uncomfortable. So he's not sleeping in the bed, but he's still sleeping in a place that, you know, just like the game is, you know, we're drawing connecting him.
I think Buck being in the bed is also him being like, I still don't need a relationship right now. I'm good just the way it is. Right. So he doesn't even need to like, you know, go on the chair. Just like, yeah, that's where I go now.
This is Buck Begins Again. Sorry, just kidding. It's season 6, episode 11, In Another Life.
Like, no, it's not.
Buck Begins Again.
Yeah.
Unofficially, it's Buck Begins Again. If they give us basically, I'm so sorry. If they give us unofficially Eddie Begins Again in the form of something that is anywhere similar to In Another Life, prepare to be so sick of me. I can't get into too much shit with this. I need to not. I need to focus on the fucking couch. I need to focus on the couch.
I know.
I'm so angry.
It's so hard.
It's so angry.
We have so much time until we get here to in our rewind.
Don't do it, Han.
Can I say one thing?
No.
Just say no.
She is forbidden.
So you know how his parents would never pay attention to him unless he was hurt when he was a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know what you were going to say.
And that's exactly what they did here. And then he doesn't see them again until Maddie's fucking wedding, where they are
just there.
They're not this.
Revert back to old habits.
Fuck them forever. So the Coma dream couch.
I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
No. Say it with your chest.
I hate that it's Dee Wallace playing her.
I know.
I hate it so
Love her in Supernatural. Love your work there.
Yeah.
Great job playing such a despicable fucking mother here.
What is the line that she says in the Supernatural episode? Oh, it was so good. Into the Mystic.
Don't fight it. Just follow your heart.
Yeah. No, you're so right. I think about that often.
Yeah. I'm just like, Dee Wallace, your range is phenomenal. Hate you as Margaret Buckley. Love you as whatever the lady's name was in that Supernatural episode. I forget. As the one-off character. Okay, now we've done our Supernatural reference for the episode.
We never even try. We don't have to. It just
comes naturally.
It will always end here.
Comes supernaturally.
So anyway, the Coma dream couch.
Yes. So I didn't catch this the first time we watched it, but when Buck looks at the Ferris wheel, I didn't notice until just now. And Margaret's like, yeah, I don't know what that is. It doesn't match anything else that I picked out. As in, even in the Coma dream, Buck doesn't choose his couch.
Choose his own shit. Yeah.
His brain is so mean to him. It's so mean. Because not even in his little
subconscious knows the truth.
Yeah.
That's why his subconscious was like, I'm going to take this opportunity to put you through several years of therapy because I'm going to need you to get your shit together.
Yeah. So even in his little like subconscious fantasy world where he has his parents' love and they're nearby, and he has his brother who like logically we're able to kind of believe that he saved, right? But he still doesn't choose his furniture, which also means that in his coma dream, he probably doesn't have a romantic relationship. I think that is on purpose in this, however, because he has the familial relationship that he always wanted. So he is more complete and fulfilled from that aspect, that he probably wouldn't have had the need to, have girlfriends bring their couches and then leave the couches, right? Because his parents brought the couch. So he doesn't need the girlfriends to bring the couch because he's looking for happiness in season 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that just devastated me. Anyway, so the couch that we do see in Coma Couch is another white couch, which also doesn't look like it matches anything else in the apartment. However, the decor of Coma apartment is a little like warmer anyways. There's more furnishing, which again would be a Margaret Buckley choice.
Mm-hmm.
But Buck sits in the middle of his dad and his dead not dead brother on this white couch. And it's just like the most bizarre kind of situation for us to see Buck in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's not who he's supposed to be sitting on the couch with. That's not the family that he usually sits on a couch with. And he takes like Christopher's spot in the middle, right? What would be Christopher's spot, which is also like to tie it back to the little Ferris wheel that we see on the end table. That's like the first/one thing that we see in that scene that kind of clues like physical thing or physical manifestation of the real world that clues Buck in to this is not real life sort of thing. And it is a direct tie to Christopher.
And it's insane work when he steps through the door and he sees all of the I guess cards from his kids, which are his students. And then he sees that Ferris wheel and it's like tied to Christopher. And you can hear the kid.
Because it's his kid.
Yeah, it's his kid. Insane work. Already something's missing. I mean, yeah. Something's missing. And then we transition to that couch where it's, like you said, that's not the normal.
Something's missing.
Well, and Christopher's kind of the whole reason, other than for himself. But Christopher is like the inciting event, I think.
That really gets Buck to not
There's other
stay.
things too, obviously. Like there's the Doug of it all. There's Ji-Yun not being there. But it was like Christopher not being there and Eddie being not there.
Well, Christopher shows up like in the hospital. Like, can you help me find my dad? I lost my dad. I'm on my own. Whatever that is. No, but it is kind of interesting just looking very briefly at like overview of Coma stuff from what I can remember at the moment. Like when there's someone who's not there, there is like kind of a replacement, right? So like Ji-Yun isn't there, but like his new niece with like Maddie and Doug is there. So it's not Ji-Yun, but it's an equate to Ji-Yun essentially. But there's no equation to Eddie. There's no supplement. It's just a void. It's just a blank hole. Do with that what you will. Just saying. Doesn't have anything to do with couch. But whatever.
Nothing to do with couch.
I mean, it has to do with Eddie. And Eddie has to do with couch.
But nothing to do with couch.
No, I know.
There's too much to talk about there.
I know. Then we see real life Buck re-enter his apartment that doesn't have a couch. And Margaret and Philip are very insistent, kind of like what we saw in Coma Dream, insisting on getting a couch for Buck. And he's just like, sure, because of everything that happened in Coma Dream.
But he loves it because he's like, oh my God, they're actually here for me. They're paying attention to me and they want to be a part of my life. And oh my God, they're talking about visiting. So he's like so happy because he's like, I'm awake. I chose to wake up for myself. I finally feel like I'm enough just being who I am. And doing that, also, my parents are here. Like, he's like, everything's right in the world.
So sure, I'm going to let them choose a couch for me. But he still doesn't take any active part in that. And
nope. Which is, honestly, that's so fucking weird.
a little bit. But for
to
someone,
just buy a couch for someone. It's one thing to like move it in, one that you already owned, but like to just buy it without getting any input from them on like, come with me and pick out a couch.
well, that's
that you
what
like.
Margaret and Philip don't.
I don't care.
It's all of the action. It's like all of the talk without like any of the. What do I want to say? Conviction for some reason.
It's because their whole thing is the appearances.
Yeah.
You do things because it's obligatory.
It's like
it's what
empty,
you're supposed to do. Yes.
Empty promise, empty action.
It's not out of like love, emotion, empathy,
Connection.
caring. Yeah.
There is still no true like emotional connection there where like it would be different if they were like, oh, we know what you like, we'll get you a couch that you would like. It's just like, no, she's already spouting off like, oh, and it can be like a sleeper sofa or maybe a sectional, No.
Yeah, it's going to be a couch that they're going to like because they're going to visit and sleep on it, except they never
and not even asking for any input from Buck, even though if they were really doing it for him, they would ask for input. Even if they're like, we're going to get you a couch. What do you like? There's none of that. So it's still so kind of like empty. And he thinks that he's going to be seen and that he's going to.
And this is different because it's not from a girlfriend.
But it is kind of the same thing, like this growth and maturity that the couch also represents. And he thinks it's, in this case, it's not going to represent a romantic partner. It's going to represent that familial parental relationship that he's also looked for his whole life. But it's still the same thing. So while he thinks things are different because it's not the girlfriend getting the couch, it's the parents, essentially it is still the same thing. It just, he's not seeing the forest for the trees in this sense where like, oh, it's different because it's not a girlfriend. No, it's the same thing. You're still on the hamster wheel. There's also another article that I found also from Entertainment Weekly. It's an interview with both Oliver Stark and showrunner Kristen Rydell. And they're kind of unpacking the Coma dream episode and saying we're seeing a new side of Buck, right? So Kristen Rydell said, Buck sitting on a couch with his dad, sipping a beer, watching the game. That's a thing that's never happened in Buck's real life. So there was a bit of wish fulfillment to the dream, at least at the start, which we connected with. And the interviewer asked, speaking of couches, sounds like Buck is finally going to get one. So we have, again, this is the same interviewer. I think it's Patrick Gomez with Entertainment Weekly. But there's that emphasis on, I'm going to ask about the couch. And Kristen Rydell says, there will be a new couch. And spoiler alert, the new couch might be in some danger before the season is over. We know now that's not like the catastrophic kind of danger that we're used to.
No.
And then Oliver says also in response to this question, he says, I love that fans have picked up on the symbolism of the couch. Buck is attached to this symbolism of couches being related to relationships, and that's not something that's actually going away anytime soon. Up until Buck's very last scene of the season, we'll see that symbolism at play. So he is perpetuating that couch theory is a major player in season 6. He's just like, I love that. It's not going away anytime soon. Because he doesn't say like, look out for this.
Yeah.
If it's not something to actually look out for. He's always like very cautious with what he presents going forward. So if he says it's up to the very last scene of the episode or the season, people are going to look out for that. This is from episode 11 and there's 7 more episodes. So people are going to be like, looking for couch. What's the danger with the couch? What's going to happen at the end of the season with the couch? So it's really playing that up.
Okay. Season 6, episode 12, recovery.
There's that new couch.
His new couch from his mom is uncomfortable as fuck. He can't get comfy.
No.
He's not rested.
No.
He's also like waiting to find out again, I guess, if he can continue his life the way he wants to. And even though he feels fine, he says to Hen, like, I felt good right before I was struck by lightning. So I guess he kind of feels like he's waiting for the other shoe to drop, or like his optimistic nature is kind of gone right now because he's, and I think it's very fair because he's had so many things happen to him.
Yeah.
That he's just like, well, something else is going to go wrong, obviously. Like, even though I feel fine, something.
Because he's in this space of limbo, which we see because he's trying to get comfortable on the couch as opposed to like going and getting comfortable in his bed.
Yeah.
So he's also trying to like get the couch to work for him. And it's not because he didn't pick it out. So it's this kind of like almost imposter in his space, and he just has to like learn how to live with it. Learn how to live with it. Like what he said to Taylor. Oh boy. So he has to like learn how to live with it, or just kind of like deal with it, right? Which is kind of what he's trying to do with the aftermath of getting struck by lightning, is like learning to deal with it and being in that like ambiguous space of he feels okay, but not trusting it. So he's not trusting himself and wouldn't trust himself to pick out a couch, essentially. I don't know, something like that.
So yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about the scene with Hen because that's the kitchen.
That's the different episode.
That's going to be another episode.
Well, both of these have kitchen heart-to-heart components.
Yes, interesting.
That's going to be a very interesting, very long episode.
Basically, long story short, Maddie sets up this like rotating schedule of people to like keep watch, check up on him because he lives by himself and he just died. So,
and he doesn't have a partner to do that for him.
Not one he lives with anyway.
No.
Officially.
Yet.
So he can't sleep. He can't get comfortable on the couch, and he wants to get away from his apartment because he's tired of having to like talk about it. Probably tired of trying to like kind of somewhat act like he's his normal self.
And also having to be on with company as opposed to just like neutral state, right?
So where does he go? Where does he always go? He goes to Eddie's,
where he's the most comfortable.
And he just walks in. My thing is like when he knocks, as soon as the door opens, he walks right past Eddie. Like he doesn't say, hey, or like wait for like the formalities of like being invited in. And he immediately plops down on that fucking couch.
And I think this scene is the closest parallel to what we see in 806.
Yes.
So just
Confessions,
like knock, 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 barges in immediately, plops on the couch.
Yeah, except this time he brought beer.
Yeah.
But in this episode, he falls, like Eddie asks if he wants beers. He's like, probably more than one. Eddie goes to grab them. And in the 10 seconds it takes for him to grab the 2 beers and come back, Buck is passed the fuck out. And the position that he's in, I feel like says a lot because he has his arm up.
Like outstretched on the back of the couch.
Outstretched on the back of the couch. Like one does when someone else is going to sit there and you have your arm around them so they can lean on you.
It's that empty space.
And
if Buck had still been awake and Eddie would have sat down on the couch, how close would he have sat down? Right? Would he have sat down on the other side of the couch? Because that's kind of far away. Or would he have sat closer to the middle, which would then be closer to that outstretched arm? Right? And therefore like filling that space of closeness, right?
I think it's also that his body language is just very open because he feels so comfortable and safe. He can finally rest. He's not curled up. He's not, you know what I mean? There's no like closed offness. So he's completely open.
It's fully open. It's vulnerable. It's comfortable, like the most comfortable that he could be. And it's him just like barging in and plopping right down, feet on the coffee table, right? Like he's not a guest in Eddie's home.
Also, but like, take your fucking shoes off.
I know. Be respectful, even if you're not a guest in his home.
No.
And then we have like that kitchen scene, which we can't really talk about, but it is interesting that those happen kind of back to back. I have a lot of thoughts about that conversation as well, but not going to get into it today.
Yeah, no. Because the parallel I thought of is also another kitchen scene. So
from 7?
Yeah.
612 is really interesting for later.
Well, we do have Eddie comes back out with the beers and looks at him asleep and is just like shrugs, cheers himself and, drinks it. He drinks both of them. There's probably a metaphor there.
I know. I really want to tie it somehow to the water and juice and beer metaphor that we see in 806.
Maybe.
There's something there, I think. I don't know. Something about like comfortability also for Eddie, like feeling comfortable enough to drink, like indulge in the beer or whatever. And having Buck there and in a place where he's safe and Eddie knows that he's safe and doesn't have to worry about him. So he's like, might as well have both. I don't know. That's all I can think of.
Okay. We've got season 6, episode 15, Death and Taxes.
Oh, to watch La Novella with some s'mores on the couch with your favorite people.
I want s'mores now.
I know, right?
I do too. Those looked really good. And also really so neat and not messy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Some sort of magic. There's no way they had just come out of the oven, right? Because that's TV magic. And that's probably why they weren't as melty, gooey all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? Because they had a firmed back up a little bit. This is very important. Absolutely nothing to do with couch.
It's the fantasy of the s'mores, okay?
Well, and there's 3 s'mores, right? Because one's for Shannon.
Because that was their thing.
That was their thing.
Between all of them. But yes, so we see Eddie and Christopher watching their telenovela on the couch in their typical like alignment where Chris is in the middle. I think we don't always see Eddie on Chris's right or left. But I think that is where he ends up most of the time. Buck is usually on Chris's left or right, but sometimes they switch. Like in that last episode, Buck was seated on that corner of the couch that Eddie would now be in. And so interesting to have this, 3 episodes later with Chris falling asleep on the couch for the like 10 seconds that Eddie leaves the room to get something to like share with Chris. In this case, it's s'mores, but with Buck, it was.
I was just trying to think of the positions in which they fell asleep.
It's kind of.
It's perfectly situated for Eddie to sit between them.
Yeah, because
like
it's kind of mirror opposite, right? And it's also kind of like if, Chris is like leaned over like this, as if like he would be leaning on, if Buck were there in that spot, Chris would be leaning on Buck a little bit.
No, Buck was on the other side.
I mean, like in his, well, if what we saw just then, I'm not talking about with the last episode, but Eddie was on the left, Chris was in the middle. If Buck were there watching the telenovelas, he would be on that other side where Chris was leaning I was talking
about like where.
Yeah, I mentioned both. Sorry, that was confusing. But like if Buck were in this scene right now, he would be on that side that Chris was leaning towards, to like lean on to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. And then Eddie like tucks him in a little bit, which he didn't really do with Buck, but like didn't really need to. And then does the same thing where he goes back into the kitchen and he partakes in the beer or the s'mores. And to have that paralleled so like beat for beat is obvious connections, right? And this is this kind of also completes the trifecta of all of the Buckley Diaz family falling asleep on the couch, because it's a little different, but with Eddie falling asleep after he was playing those video games. So that would have been the first one. And then we see Buck and then we see Christopher. So we have that connection to all of them falling asleep very easily on the blue Diaz couch, which is just, it ties them all together. It ties that sense of family and sense of home and comfortability and relaxation. And this is where I'm supposed to be. In like, it ties them all, but like in individual ways.
So when was the last time that we saw Buck and Eddie on the couch together?
You mean before 806?
I think I'm specifically talking about like the absence of Buddie during seasons 5 and 6 because like it's very loud like how separated they are and like how they're not like, you know, sitting, like they're not hanging out necessarily, or like when they do hang out, one is there's like, well, there's the whole crisis going on.
The blocking is like they're across from each other.
Yeah.
Is the last time, I'd have to double check and scroll up my notes, but is the last time we actually see them all on the couch together in season 3 with after the, do you want to go for the title? Because I think in season 4, it is supposed to be this empty space. Like they keep missing each other a little bit, right? Because Buck's on the couch when Eddie's in the hospital, that kind of thing. And it's interesting in season 6 specifically that we have with both of them the idea of the couches, and where Buck allows his parents to get him the new couch because he thinks that's going to fill that hole, that quite physical, literal space in his apartment, first of all, but like the hole that he feels in his search for like a romantic relationship. So he takes that parental relationship in lieu of that. And then with Eddie, we also see after the scene with him and Chris, which follows the Buck falling asleep on the couch scene, Eddie goes and talks to his parents as well. So I think there's also like that connection for both of them of in season 6 specifically, like connecting it kind of to the parents, but that's also not necessarily what they need and what they're looking for, because Eddie is also like, you know, reminiscing about this picture with Shannon, and they made s'mores like in honor of Shannon.
I think for me, the parallel with the one we just talked about before this, where Buck falls asleep on the couch and the beers, and the blocking is the same. Where when he comes back out and he's holding the beers and holding the s'mores. And I think it's very much, it is him looking at his, like that couch as, again, a metaphor for his relationship with them. And he, obviously, he knows exactly what his relationship with his son is, but he looks at them the same. Like he looks at them with like care, fondness. Like, and he's taking care of them too, like literally taking care of them. It's like I welcome you into my home. I welcome you onto my couch, my most like central, comfortable, safe place. And then, I give you a beer. I give you s'mores. Like I'm caretaking. I'm caregiver. And then you fell asleep, and it's like, okay, well, I will let you sleep, and then I will go now consume these things that I made or retrieved. I don't know. It's very domestic.
Yeah.
And I don't think you got to dig that deep for the metaphor on that one.
No.
I just think he looks at them. He just looks at them like very peaceful. Like it's like, that's where they belong. Like when they're on his couch, he looks the most content. Place. Yes.
Yeah. Which is then so interesting too, like kind of what I was saying, because then they kind of go in the different direction with relating it kind of like to their parents, right? And it's like it's not exactly the right fit. And I'm explaining this very clunkily, but I don't know, something about that just kind of sparked to me too, because it's like they're looking for something to fill that void of like lack of relationship with their parents, but it's not what they're actually looking for. It's not what they actually need, because it's right under their nose the entire time, right? But I think they have to like explore that with their parents to like realize that that isn't what they're looking for with the couch. My brain is a mush of couch cushions, okay?
Are we ready for season 6, episode 18, Pay It Forward?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna try to not talk about the season 6 of it all, right? Other than
Fuck this. Only positive outcome is the couch is ruined by amniotic fluid.
that was that danger that the couch was in that Kristen right now was talking about. She wasn't wrong.
No, she was not.
Yeah. And I think at the end they try to like clean the couch too, which is interesting.
No, I'd be getting a new couch. Trust.
Right? Why would you keep that couch?
Trust.
I know couches are expensive, but like
So nasty.
I feel like it would be easier to clean if it was a cloth couch, but the fact that it's like a leather couch, how do you get that out? Like it's just absorbed in there forever.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Technically, before we see the birth, Buck has the phone call with Connor, and Buck does sit down on the couch and he talks about how Connor has to, grow up and be mature and, like communicate with his wife and everything like that, which is kind of the beginning of the culmination of the couch theory that as in the way that it was introduced in the first episode of the season, where they were equating not having a couch to lack of maturity. So having Buck tell Connor that he has to like grow up and be more mature is kind of that full circle coming to fruition in that way. And so it makes sense that he is saying that on the couch that he now has, not because of any girlfriend, but because of his parents. And then Cameron gives birth on the couch, and that's pretty self-explanatory, with really driving home the stuff about family on the couch that his parents got him.
Yeah, but none of it's his. None of it is what he picked out. It's nothing that he is choosing.
It's still like a lack of ownership, right?
Yeah, the couch is not his. He didn't pick it out. He's uncomfortable on it. He is so uncomfortable with Cameron being there.
Sleeping on the couch,
because this was a hard thing for him to decide to do, but was like, okay, I can be separated. But they are putting him in this weird fucking position where he has to kind of be this weird go-between when he's not even supposed to be involved.
Yeah. So like he is kind of put between a rock and a hard place as the mediator. And he even says, I think on that phone call with Connor, like, she's not my wife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He basically says, not my monkey, not my circus.
Yeah, but that assertion that, his couch is still technically reserved, like as much as like he may have some sort of sense of completeness with, the idea that he's grown and he's matured and stuff like that. There's still like a sense of the couch is reserved for the romantic partner that he still doesn't have, and Cameron is not his, and he can't think about it that way, even though
and that's not his kid.
Even though she's taking up that space with the kid that is biologically his, but he doesn't have any, not ownership, but like any
attachment.
He can't have any attachment to.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And then, oh my God, Connor pisses me the fuck off because he's like, oh, it's kind of yours. Bro, can you
not
fight?
Helpful.
Can you fight? Then is this all one scene? Was there a cut? Yes, there's a cut. So he leaves, he goes to work, he comes back, and that's when.
Oh yeah. That's when the birth
that's
happens.
when the premature labor happens. Because he's sleeping on the couch, she's sleeping in the bed.
Oh, I missed that.
Because she's pregnant.
Yeah. That's a lot of stairs to get up and down. Very, very pregnant, though.
But that's why he's like, are you okay? Like, this is like the umpteenth time you've gone to the bathroom. And she's like, I'm very pregnant. And then that's when the birthing time starts, and he does his Buck thing where he's just locked in and he is very focused. He's, I am a professional. Shouldn't we be professionals? I am one. So it's like he's very in his element, but also not at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so discordant. It's just like everything is not okay. Nothing is okay.
It's still in that limbo space
Yeah.
that we saw from after the lightning strike, where things are just weird.
Yep.
I love that we have the death doula present for the death of the couch.
Yeah. Ooh. Yes. It's life and death both operating in the same space.
It's
Right.
DOA, the arrival of the baby.
Dead on arrival of baby. That's wild.
With the introduction of couch theory, like, and the whole, like, I don't want to pick the wrong couch. And then, like, he's not picking his own couches. He's not picking his romantic partners. They just kind of, they show up, they show interest, and he gets with them. I feel like there's also a connection with, like, the couch. I mean, the couch, we all know at this point, that represents, like, family and being togetherness. And then what Han said, like, there's a level of wrongness. Like, I know he's going through the motion, not the motions, like he's going through his action. He's going through it as the birth is happening. But like everything is just, like Han said, everything's just wrong, even before and after the birth of that child and the death of that couch.
Wrong in the way that it's like uncomfortable. Right?
Yeah. Like it's kind of like the wrong family is here, the wrong kid is here, just everything is just wrong, couch, wrong everything.
Wrong girlfriend.
And I think that all culminates for me when he's holding his kid, his biological child, and then just like the look on his face.
That he doesn't have any rights to, right?
Yeah. So, he's going through like the stages of grief, basically, while he holds this kid that he just delivered.
Yeah. And you can see it on his face. Like, it's a really beautiful performance, but it's like, it's lightning fast. Sorry.
Wow, Rachel.
Too soon.
Why are you like this?
I don't know. I didn't realize it until it was halfway out of my mouth.
And she did go, she did gasp and cover her mouth. So at least she felt a little bad about it. Oh, dear.
Oops.
But yeah, this is just such this being like the culmination of couch theory. Well, I guess there's the other thing we'll talk about.
Well, it was supposed to be the culmination of couch theory. That's the other thing. It was supposed to be like beginning and ending Ouroboros life and death of couch theory.
Yes.
In season 6, but that didn't happen.
Yes. But to me, the takeaway is that the only time he's ever comfortable on a couch that entire season, it's Eddie's.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Every other time there is an aspect of this is not right, this is wrong, something feels off, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Every time except when he's on Eddie's couch.
And I think this is why I also questioned, I'm like, when was the last time they all sat together on the couch, or they just had like a moment on the couch? Because it's been a while.
Season 3.
Yeah, because I think 4 had them like missing each other on purpose. 5
and 6,
Eddie,
which is like Eddie looking at Christopher and Buck.
Yeah.
On the couch.
Which is like that distance growing and growing and growing.
Yeah. Then we have the scene that I didn't even include in here because it's so stupid and pointless, because then she's gone.
Well, they didn't know that at the time.
I know. But like they didn't know that the show was going to get renewed, so that was going to be Buck's ending.
I know. We can't talk about that.
I know.
No.
But anyway, that's why I was like, I just kind of disregard this scene because it literally means nothing.
I mean, no, it does. It doesn't literally mean in the grand scheme of things, means less than what it was supposed to, but it was supposed to be the end all be all of the end. Buck has grown, he's matured, and now he's ready to pick out a new couch with a romantic partner, which is what he's been looking for the whole time. So it was supposed to be bookended.
Yes, let's have him pick out a couch with someone he's been on 3 whole dates with. that's a normal thing that people do in healthy relationships.
I'm not saying it was done well. So like still in essence, it still doesn't work. Right. But it wasn't super well written, but for what they were trying to get across.
I'm just going to say I don't blame the writing for this because are given their instructions on.
This was a show writing thing, which especially because this was a season long metaphor, would have had to be locked out across the entire season, that then individual writers would have had to make sure they get to, this plot point for the season arc of couch theory, right?
Hitting those beats.
Thank you. Yes, hitting those beats. So it would have had to be planned out ahead of time, right? So not like the writers themselves.
But it's bad story-wise, especially if that was going to be his ending. But they obviously don't go pick out a couch together because he still has the fuck-ass Margaret couch.
It was cleaned.
It was clean.
But I don't think we see him on that couch much, if at all, going forward. But just to close out the official, couch theory of season 6, there was another article from Entertainment Weekly. It's the same writer, and it's an interview with Oliver Stark talking about the season 6 finale and Buck's new romance, Lucy's return, and that couch. That's part of the title of the article, right?
and that couch.
And that couch. So like this interviewer, Patrick Gomez, I think is his name, has been very diligent about like following up on the couch in the context. So like at the end of the article, they're talking about, Buck and Natalia and everything like that. And I think this is after that they have had that renewal for ABC. So they can talk about things moving forward as opposed to like complete like story closure. So the interviewer says, and now Buck wants Natalia to help him pick out a new couch. And Oliver responds, it's funny that you say that because people have said in the past, Oliver confirmed couch theory. And I'm like, Oliver didn't confirm it. Buck confirmed it. It's literally in the first episode of season 6, right? Direct quote. So he continues. He's like, I didn't confirm it. This is Buck. It's in, it's what we're talking about. It's in the text of the episode. It is confirmed. Like it's not a theory. That's why it's more like that overarching metaphor, right? The theory comes in when we're looking at it from outside of season 6. Yeah. But Oliver continues and he says, Buck makes the link of the past 2 couches came with girlfriends. So that symbolism was there. And he continues saying that he does think it's very meaningful that by the end of the season, he's able to look another partner in the face and say, hey, let's go pick out a couch together. It's nice to have seen that symbolism continue throughout the whole season and for him to consciously make that decision to associate the couch and the partner. So that is like closed book on couch theory, technically, right? And it's just like a nice way for Oliver to like tie that in a nice little bow, because he'd been throughout the season very, very direct about talking about it is symbolism for his relationship, because that's what they say in the show. It's not even like a fan theory. So just nice consistency on that, on those interviews. Really appreciate those. And appreciate, Oliver's candidness for talking about in like a meta-analysis way, kind of like we're doing.
Well, he understands the character and he actually watches the show. And so he sees what we see. I watched the show.
These things are wrong.
I didn't even try and do that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So as far as like they're aware, that is kind of like where couch theory is supposed to be contained, right? But it kind of continues. Now, there was another article when we get to season 7, episode 6, there goes the groom, which is the bachelor party episode. And this article is from The Decider, or just from Decider. It's an interview with Oliver previewing the episode, saying, you know, it's one of his favorite ever episodes to shoot. And the interviewer for this article, I think this one is Nicole Gallucci. She references the episode preview, which, you know, had scenes from the bachelor party, and mentioned that, you know, the trailer had fans returning to the couch theory. So she says, in the name of truth journalism and couches everywhere, you know, a true compatriot, Decider asked Oliver Stark if the burnt couch in 706, which would have been in the hotel room, you know, after the everything that we will never see. So she asked if that burnt couch from the hotel and the bachelor party had any significance. And Oliver Stark says, there's not. No, there's not. He says, so I am aware of this couch theory, as if he wasn't like one of the main proponents speaking about it. I'm just aware of it. But he thought it was a season 6 thing, understandably. I didn't know we were still sitting on that couch. So no, I wouldn't look into that for this. So while it's pretty definitively that couch in the bachelor party thing is like not really anything, it still shows that people are, you know, paying attention to this idea of the couch beyond just season 6, right? Which is why we've spurned this into a whole episode.
Well, also, now that we included the clip of Eddie sitting against the couch, he also is sitting against a couch in this episode too.
Oh.
With everyone else sitting on a couch.
Oh.
Which I'm just going to make some shit up right now and be like, well, now he's on the floor again, and other people are occupying this couch, which I'm equating to. Yep.
Found family.
I was gonna say something about like other people are filling this couch, and therefore other people are in Buck's life at this point. So that's where I was going with
he's
that.
on the floor when he's a little crashing out.
Yeah. I know
about something Buck's doing.
That's why I said I was
kind of
disassociating.
But that's so interesting to think about, though, because it's like he wants to be on the couch, but he doesn't feel like he belongs on the couch right now.
And who is on the couch? I'm pretty sure it's Bobby and Athena. So like that's still tied to like that parental.
What?
I think it is.
Role. What do you mean what? When they're back at like the hotel and they're waiting to see like where Chimney is and stuff, right?
That's the one I was talking about.
I was thinking about him on the floor at the bachelor party while they're still waiting for Chim.
He wasn't on the floor.
I don't think Eddie was on the floor there.
He was on the couch. Wait, what? Wait, after the party or before the party?
I'm talking about after the party.
He's in the bathtub, but like before, like when everyone leaves, Eddie's on the couch.
Oh,
should have just put this in here.
Yeah, well, see, there were couches there. What were you?
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's like the funniest like meme. Like that's why I thought about it. I was like, you know, him just sitting, just kind of like,
kind of like what we saw from like the
okay, no, you're right. It's after. I'm not even looking, but yeah, I'm remembering it wrong.
Yeah, because he's in the ruined pink suit and he's just like sitting and he's like, I'm so hungover right now.
Is he on the couch? I know he's like throwing food. I can see him like throwing food in his mouth.
Also, wouldn't the scene like from the bachelor party when they're in the hotel, like when Buck is leaning back and someone's like, you know, dropping the liquor into
He was on a couch.
He was on a couch.
Yeah. And we thought there was nothing in this episode.
We can always find something. Should have known better.
Thank you, Sil.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're talking about the seats in the karaoke bar?
Yep.
I wouldn't have thought of that as couch.
But it is couch. For some reason, I was picturing him sitting on the floor against this couch.
Oh, I just kept thinking of it as booth.
Okay, so they're not on the couch here.
No, they're on like
a
bench.
That's why I discounted this. I was like, they're not on a couch. I was like, it's also not a couch in someone's home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was. But we were talking about like after.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say that like everyone was on this couch. And then everyone left the couch except
for Eddie. Yeah. Like, but also
he was the first person there.
But the first person we see on this like booth, I don't really want to call it like a couch, but you know, couch theory extended. The first person
extended universe.
CTEU. Oh my God. So like the first person that we see like sitting down at like the booth is Tommy, but the last person that we see there on like sitting at the booth is Eddie. So like if we're talking about CTEU, you know, couch theory extended universe, it's not your first, it's your last.
Even bigger brain.
Not your last, I'm your first.
I mean, it was there the whole time.
Wow, I can't wait to talk about this in our next special, which is Plot Device.
Oh shit.
No, but seriously, like if Tommy was the first one sitting down at the booth, Eddie is the last one sitting down at the booth.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy is his first, but he's not his last. But Eddie is the last. We do see definitive, canonical, like in text, Eddie being the last following Tommy. I cracked it.
Also, Eddie does not say goodbye to Tommy.
No,
so
he doesn't. He's just like,
him leaving.
I'll care.
He's like, thank God.
We're also not going to talk about how he hands him juice.
No. That can go in the lasagna episode, I guess. That
Oh,
can
are
just
we-
be the food episode.
Food theory?
We can do lasagna. We can do snickerdoodles. We can do
S'mores.
juice and s'mores. There's something
Beers.
else. Beers. There's another food. Like food.
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I think there's something to be said about how there are two couches there and they're
not on it.
Either of them. The carpet and the bathtub.
Which is probably the most uncomfortable spot you could be, which also may, we can chalk that under Eddie not allowing himself comfortability and joy. And, well, he allowed himself joy, but then he was like, too much joy. Have to sleep in.
He has to
in
flagellate
hard
to make up
porcelain.
for that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's something to that.
Let me find the actual couch y'all were talking about.
Okay, there we go.
There it is. All right.
Wait, was he not on the couch?
He's on the very end leaning against it. And Buck isn't on it either.
He's on the back of the couch, which the only other time we see him on the back of the couch.
Mm-hmm. But we have the couples.
We have the couples, Bobby and Athena. We have Hen and Karen, but also with like Bobby and Athena, those are very like parental figures, right? So they operate in like both of those spheres for Buck and Eddie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're both just kind of dissociating.
Yeah.
but separate, which is
Which is
also
interesting.
interesting.
Anyway, which could mean nothing. I'll end it with that.
No, but I think him being on the floor is very much a good metaphor for him being like, I feel out of place. I feel like I have to take a step back from the family unit that I want, right?
Yeah. And also Buck, because like this is his family, but he is on the other side of the couch on the back of it. He's not like in the center of it and like the center of the action. So it is also him kind of like putting himself at a little bit of a distance.
Okay. Well, the
We're
moment
ready to lose our minds.
The moment you all were not waiting for. Season 7, episode 9, Ashes, Ashes.
Oh boy.
Speaking of Eddie crashing out.
Too soon. The first scene when, Eddie is coming clean to Kim about Shannon, we almost get the coffee table blocking eventually. Like he's standing up for part of it and then he sits like on the chair or the ottoman
In front of the chair.
He doesn't sit on the coffee table, even though this is serious conversation. But I think that's also a little bit because, the coffee table is being taken up by Shannon. Yeah, because she has very much a like physical presence in this entire arc for Eddie, right? And also like that is a way to have himself like physically distanced, right? Where usually we get the coffee table blocking where it's like an honest emotional conversation that helps the characters be more like emotionally in tune or like emotionally intimate with each other. But he is trying to distance himself from everything that he did and everything that he's feeling.
Also,
and
let's give her some space too, because like
right, and that too, to also like be respectful that like,
and he making
made
it
his
clear like what is not happening here.
Yes,
he's not trying to lead her on any further because someone told him not to.
So I think in essence we can kind of call that like an almost like coffee table.
Adjacent.
Yeah, adjacent. So, especially because Kim was sitting on the couch, in the middle of the couch, where, you know, Shannon should have sat.
It's also where Chris sits, and he's kind of like, he is the elephant in the room of Eddie's mind because Shannon is...
Shannon is the ghost that haunts Eddie's
Shannon is the ghost that haunts him because it's the only person he ever felt like he could make a relationship work with, even though he couldn't. Even though it didn't work, he's like romanticized it in his head a little bit.
Rose-colored glasses, for sure.
Because he's never been able to like get that feeling back.
And that's especially underlined when Kim says like, I guess Shannon was the love of your life, or I guess she was the love of your life. And then Eddie responds with, yeah, I think so. I think she was, but I didn't know it at the time. So there's also this just like, sure, we're going
it's
with
just
that.
Because he feels like he's never going to care about anyone more than her because he's tried and he can't. So he's like, I guess she is because I've tried and now in retrospect.
Yeah. And it's the in retrospect because he's like, I didn't know it at the time. So it's only when he's looking back on it. Through those rose-colored glasses that he's like, well, this is the closest I'm going to get, which is also kind of something that Buck does a little bit, but more Buck does, I think, more like present in the moment rather than like looking back on it. So there's that. It's also the same place where he sits when he's coming clean to Buck about the whole Kim situation as well. But that's in the next.
Well, we're going to talk about that next. I just think it's fucking wild that he chose to bring her into his home to do this and sat her on the couch. We never even see Shannon on the couch.
We see them arguing by the couch.
But she's never on it because she's never really, the three of them are never really a family unit. The only time we ever see that really is like at the beach, and it's just them watching Christopher, loving their son and being friends, you know?
Yeah.
It's a different kind of relationship. So, but it's just crazy because it's like he's breaking it off. He's trying not to lead her on, but something in his brain is still saying, put her on the couch and see if that incites the feeling of what I'm supposed to feel with like family on the couch.
Yeah. Like see if she fits.
Yeah.
Right. And she doesn't, but it's also because Shannon never did either.
No. And then I'm not going to get too deep into it because it really is just him at the couch at the beginning of that whole scene where Crazy Town comes back.
Well, with that, we see him wake up from a nap on the couch, and it is the same blocking as when he wakes up after in 514 Dumb Luck after he finds out that his entire platoon has died. So there's this visual connection to the last time he woke up from an absolute nightmare. Right. But in this instance, he's waking up to the nightmare.
To a nightmare,
waking nightmare.
Because the nightmare felt very realistic, right? Yeah. He woke up and was like, okay, things are still shitty, but like I'm not actually dying in my kitchen. And this was like, okay, trying to like get some rest after the emotional turmoil of that on the safe space of the couch.
Yeah.
And then waking up and, oh, am I still dreaming? Because this is fucking
feels like
weird.
a dream. Yeah.
Yes.
Like the whole Kim coming back as Shannon feels like a dream, but it also kind of feels like a nightmare because this is not what he wanted.
No. And he said, please stop.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. Like,
consent is important.
there was no consent for this weird ass role play she decided to do.
Ugh. So that was that. To me, that part is just like, it really mirrors the same shot from 514 when he
It
wakes
does.
up from the nightmare. And
Very
that's
much so.
crazy town.
Okay. So season 7, episode 10, I'll Fall Down. So we get to the couch, right? But it's not right. So Buck comes in because Eddie called him, because Buck fixes things.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he does. He's a fixer.
He helps. He's a helper. He's a fixer. And he's a Christopher whisperer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, my son won't talk to me. I understand that, but like, I need to make sure that my son is okay. So he invites. He probably
Begs.
was like, Buck, get here right the fuck now. I need
Yeah.
you. So
I always come when you call.
rings the doorbell, comes in, and Buck sits down on the arm of the chair, and he does this right after Eddie says, because he's explaining this, like, as he came in, he's like, I really messed up. And he's like, I invited Kim over to explain to her that what she thought was happening was not actually what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And Buck's like, you had her over here? You invited her here? And he looks like, not like that's crazy. He looks like kind of hurt.
Concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he sits down on the arm of the couch. It's an empty fucking couch, but he's sitting on the arm. And this to me is because he does not feel like he has the place that he thought he had in the family unit, right? He doesn't feel comfortable. He doesn't feel like he belongs there.
Because he's very surprised at Eddie's actions, like the whole Kim situation. Because like we don't see the clip here, but in the previous episode when, when they're in the kitchen and Buck is like, you need to come clean about this. He's so like taken aback at what Eddie, like the path that Eddie is going down a little bit. And I think that's just like, maybe to him, it feels like he doesn't know Eddie as well as he thought he does. So then he's like, well, then I'm not the Eddie whisperer. And if I'm not the Eddie whisperer, who am I?
It's because he doesn't understand why Eddie's doing this.
Yeah.
He doesn't I don't think Buck understands the Shannon.
The haunting of Shannon.
Not spirit. Oh my God. Not ghost. The other thing. Phantom? No.
Spectre.
Thank you. It's the Shannon Spectre. He doesn't understand this Shannon Spectre. He just thinks that she was like the love of his life, the mother of his child. And that's why he's hung up on her. But he doesn't understand like
the closest thing that he would have to understanding is Abby, but that's such a different situation.
No, but I don't think what I'm saying is I don't think Eddie has talked to him about all of this stuff with Shannon. Some of it, I think more than anyone else, but not all of it. So, and he definitely doesn't know what Eddie doesn't even consciously know yet.
Yeah.
About like why he feels so guilty and angry. I don't think anyone knows about the divorce other than Bobby.
I don't think anyone does know about the divorce other than Bobby. Which is
so
also
he doesn't understand the layers of it and like why it makes him crazy
Eddie so much.
Yes.
Yeah. It is interesting, that blocking, because it is so unusual for them. And we do see that Eddie ends up taking that same spot on the chair or the ottoman of the chair across, just like he did with Kim. So it's him distancing himself even from Buck, which is, I think, speaks very, very loudly
because he destroys things.
But it's and he
doesn't deserve comfort.
No,
from Buck.
No, but they also couldn't do serious conversation, coffee table blocking, because Buck sits down first and he sits on the arm of the couch. So like that makes the coffee table blocking like a moot point anyways.
Mhm.
If Buck had sat down on the couch proper, Eddie might have gone to
Mhm.
the coffee table like we would normally see. But because everything is just so off kilter, that isn't given like it's not even an option at that point, right? Because everything's just so far gone. So it's just like not the way things are supposed to be.
Yeah. Eddie's explaining this all to Buck. Not well, by the way.
He's so panicked.
He's so panicked, and he's pacing
like,
before he
manic a little
sits
bit.
down, like tugging at his hair, head in his hands, like, and Buck is so confused and concerned, and
He doesn't know what the hell's going on.
he also just like, I don't know, he looks kind of like lost a little bit, where it's like, to me, the whole thing, like, I mean, I'll just say what I'm reading into the whole situation is that he rang the doorbell. That to me is first sign that he's not feeling like he belongs.
That's doorbell knocking keys theory.
Yeah, that's another time. Then he sits down on the arm of the couch, like we talked about. So he's not feeling like he has the place that he thought he had, and I think he goes through cycles of that feeling. Actually, you know, whenever Eddie's dating someone, or
Yeah.
you know, and so even though Marisol's gone and he broke up with Kim, it's like he's feeling like, oh, I really am just never gonna actually be sitting in this seat because it's always going to be like Shannon haunting it, right?
Mhm. It's always going to be like the ghost of Shannon or the person taking that Eddie is trying to get to take up Shannon's space.
And he's not in his head. He's like, I love him like he's my own, but I'm not really his dad. I'm just like the backup, right? I'm like the break glass in case of emergency. So
yeah,
he's very much like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know how to explain this to him. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like he's hesitating. I mean, he is hesitating, but it's kind of like he's hesitating because he doesn't feel like it's his place to do this. Whereas like any other time, Eddie's been like, can you talk to Chris?
Yeah. And
He's
like we see that at the beginning of season 7, which really establishes that.
Yeah.
For Buck to feel like so out of place in the place where he's
supposed to feel
the most
at home because he's not a guest. He's feeling like a guest.
And it's like,
this is painful. I hate this.
I know. And it's just like with how far they're sitting across from each other, that is like the biggest distance between like a couch conversation that we've ever had with them. Like even when Eddie was, you know, unplugging the video game and saying like, we're not getting healthy and you need to like not be so like on the video games and stuff like that. It was right like on the other side of the
right
coffee
in front
table.
of the coffee
It was
table.
so much
right
closer.
and head on, right?
So this is like just the physical space mimicking the emotional space, like the emotional chasm that we have here.
Yeah.
Are we ready to get into season 8?
Uplifting stuff.
And it's going to get so much better in season 8.
Also, just a last note. This is the second time we see specifically Eddie with Couch and then his parents. But this time he didn't call them.
Ooh, interesting.
Season 8, episode 1. Buzz.
No, you didn't.
Kill.
Wow.
I'm just channeling my fellow Cancer. Okay.
Well, the kind of direct aftermath of season 7, and we have birthday party Couch. Woo! The saddest birthday party you'll ever see.
So we have Rocco.
That man.
We have Rocco in the Diaz house, and thank God we don't have to see it more than this one time. But anyway, yes, they're throwing a virtual birthday party for Christopher, and they're wearing hats. They're hiding behind the couch,
Mm-hmm.
Buck and Tommy, and their backs are to the back of the couch.
So completely facing away
Yes.
from Eddie and being physically separated from
Mm-hmm.
the couch, like where you're supposed to be on the couch,
Mhm.
right?
So there's something literally between them, but also Eddie is in the middle of the shot. He
Where-
is
Mhm.
in between them.
He's in between Tommy and Buck. He's also
Mhm.
in Chris's typical seat because Chris is like the elephant in the room, right? And he's trying to like bring him back into the fold, but it's not
Mm.
working. But yes, Eddie is very much in the center between Tommy and Buck on the other side of this obstacle of the back of the couch, if you will. So everyone is very separated, even Chris, because Chris is on the video call. Where is the video call taking place? So Chris is essentially on the coffee table,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's this coffee table blocking virtually that's happening.
Oh my God, more foreshadowing about a serious conversation.
Exactly. And I think you wanted to speak about like Tommy escaping out of frame also.
Yes, I did. So then they pop out and Eddie is still in the middle and there's still something between them, but now they're facing forward.
You mean Buck and Eddie, right?
Tommy and Eddie, who were facing
Mm-hmm.
away from the couch, but now they're all looking forward, but he's still in between them. Do I need to explain the metaphor? Like I feel like that's just self-explanatory.
That Eddie is in between the
Eddie's
Buck
in
and Tommy
between them, and it
relationship.
starts out that they're not really paying attention to him, even though he is still very much
there.
like,
Yeah.
in between them. But then very shortly, they turn around and there he is. That's it. That was the metaphor.
That continues the blocking that we see even through
Mhm.
even all the way back in season 7, where it's like that a triangulation between Buck
Mhm.
and Eddie and Tommy,
And
and
Tommy.
someone is always in the middle,
Mhm.
and a lot of times it's Eddie.
In season 8, it's pretty much always
Yeah.
Eddie.
And that's intentional in and of itself. So it sets it up because this is the
Exactly.
first episode of the season.
So then we have on the screen, like where you can see Christopher in the preview of you.
Yeah.
When you're making a call, like in the top left, you can see the 3 of them. And then for some fucking reason, like once it freezes, Tommy starts to eat the cupcakes or something.
Yeah.
But he takes himself out of the frame.
So then it's just
So then
Eddie and
it
Buck.
just ends up being Eddie and Buck in the frame,
And
looking
Chris.
like, and
Which
Chris.
is-
well, no,
well,
I think Chris is gone by
Okay.
that point.
well, it was supposed to be.
He says the pool club, and then the next time you see the screen, it's
Mhm.
Helena, and then Tommy is out for the rest of it, and it's just Buck
Buck and Eddie
lurking
who-
behind him for this awkward ass conversation, looking like a kicked puppy. Yeah, and then you have it like actually in frame of Buck out of focus, right over Eddie's
Mhm.
shoulder.
with that shot of Buck behind Eddie on the other side of the couch, it still shows that Buck has Eddie's back. And
Yes.
he's very much trying to support Eddie as best he can, even if it's a little bit at a distance,
Mm-hmm.
because I still think that Buck is feeling a little unsure about his role in Eddie's life when Christopher
Especially
isn't
with
there.
Christopher gone, and he misses him, and he's like, I can't really talk about him though, and I
Mhm.
shouldn't miss him.
Yeah. Because
You know.
I don't have any, what rights do
Right.
I have to
Right
him?
too. Yeah. And like
Mhm.
my pain about this doesn't matter because Eddie's is, so big. But he's leaning on the couch. So he has his back, and he's also leaning.
He wants to be part of this again. He wants
Mhm.
that family to feel complete again, but there's such a large part missing. And it's just like, even with Christopher gone and they're all around the couch, Buck and Eddie do not sit on the couch together.
Mm-mm.
That
Nope.
still doesn't happen. So it's still like, as much as Christopher is the elephant in the room, so is that, right? because
Mhm.
once Tommy and Buck go like, surprise, like they could have come around to the side of the couch, and sat down, and then, they could have like moved the laptop back a little bit to get everybody in screen, but they don't do that. They just stay put. So that's also an interesting choice too.
Buck stays put, and Tommy is just like,
I'm going to have the cupcakes, which is like,
yeah,
a choice.
Anyway, this sets up. I just can't believe they were like, yes, we're kicking off season 8 with couch again. You thought it was gone. It's back, baby.
So these were also new writers to 911. I think they had previously written for Lone Star. So that's also interesting because with new writers, you can kind of with any group of writers, like, but maybe that's something that they purposefully wanted to revive.
Tim is like, I don't know about couch theory. And I'm like, I don't fucking believe you. Season 8, episode 5, Masks.
Oh boy.
Tommy is on the couch.
The birth couch.
The
death
death and birth couch, right? Now it's literally the death couch because it has skeleton pillows on it.
Because I know
specifically
that was like,
one with making a peace sign, like peace out.
Which, like, yes, it's the Halloween episode. It's Halloween decor, but like
we've never seen him have seasonal decor pillows before, so very purposeful. And then Tommy lays down on it, flat on his back, with his hands folded right here like a corpse in a casket. I'm not kidding. Like they fold their hands like that,
like Billy Boyles, like Billy.
Oh, they were just so funny for this. They were just so funny. And
they
again,
think they're so funny.
We see Buck in his armchair because he's trying to, I think his armchair represents him trying to like make choices that are good for himself, right?
But it also represents him solo without a relationship. And also like he's recuperating in the chair, but like back in season 6, his parents were like, you can't heal and recuperate in an armchair. And that's why they got him the couch, which he is not using to recuperate in even now. And it's still the couch that he did not pick out with another relationship that he did not pick out.
It also just makes no sense. Like this is so purposeful to me because like, why wasn't he recuperating in bed?
Yeah, like he was lying down in the hospital bed. It should have been fine. His leg wasn't a problem.
I did like some light Googling and it was like, no, you can lay down in bed. It's like just prop some pillows around you so you don't.
We've seen he has a load of pillows for his bed.
Yes.
Like should have been fine. They did that purposefully so they did not have Tommy in. They didn't even have to have Tommy in the bed with him.
It could have just had him giving him the water and stuff and then going to sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been contagious. I don't know. that would have been a good reason to have him on the couch, on the death couch.
Well, he had the boils the next morning. He didn't know.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
But so to purposefully put Buck in the armchair that we saw represented his like singledom and making choices for himself, right?
The episode before they break up. So interesting.
Not that he made the choice to break up. But
no, but
it is a foreshadowing there.
It's a foreshadowing that things are not right. They're off. Right? Things are not where they're supposed to be. It's like the season 6 finale.
Yeah.
Season 8, episode 6.
We're almost there.
Confessions. These are my confessions.
They were insane for this. What a gift.
There's no dialogue, but
in the episode about confessions, there is no dialogue between Buck and Eddie in the entire episode. I just like that fact. Just throwing that in there. So, a risky business dance where the couch plays a pivotal role, to say the least.
It's a co-star.
Yeah.
That's his dance partner.
Yeah. Gosh. So like, but first of all, he's dancing. He dances on top of the coffee table, right? This is the most unserious we've ever seen.
He's dancing over the seriousness.
Yeah. He really is. He's maybe like brushing it under the rug that the coffee table and the couch are on. So he's dancing on top of the coffee table, and then he lands on the couch filled with joy, and he does his little like wiggle. I don't even know what to call that, where he like jumps on it and then he jumps up, or no, he jumps on it and then he like flops. He flops and like wiggle and jumps up and then like jumps back down again, but like face up, which is like different from the last times, the couple of last times that we see him like on his back laying on the couch, where he's waking up from a nightmare or waking up to a nightmare. And this is not any of those things. And we see it on his face. It's just like, it's pure joy, which is so lovely.
So nice to see.
And he like messes up the couch cushions. He messes up the couch cushions as well, which is completely, this just occurred to me because I'm like, he totally yanks like the back cushion off to make room, which is so counter to what he did when he was with Anna and they were waiting for Carla to come back and he was fluffing the pillows, primping everything to make it look
putting
perfect.
On appearances.
Because he's not putting on appearances.
No.
He's
not trying
to pretend
on a performance
to be in the dance, but he's not performing.
Yeah, that's for
he's
him.
He's not being performative, right? That is pure him, pure joy. So like the couch cushions don't have to be perfect. And then Buck comes in and just like we see after the lightning strike, just beelines straight for the couch, sits down, not a word, hands Eddie a beer. That's it. And then Eddie walks over on top of the back of the couch, right? So Buck kind of reclaims his place, his space on the couch in his usual spot on that couch.
Because he needs the comfort. He needs to feel at home.
He does.
Yeah.
And Eddie, who is then left on the opposite side of the couch, so kind of like where we saw Buck and Tommy in the first episode, but he doesn't come around the couch. He walks right on over it.
And it's like he's jumping over that hurdle.
That obstacle. And he just like plops himself right down also in his spot. And
and Christopher is in the middle.
In like the picture on the mantle in the back, there's like a picture of Christopher. So it's still like he's the elephant in the room.
And this is the first time we ever see Buck and Eddie on a couch together by themselves.
Without Christopher. Ever.
That's why. By themselves. It's just Buck and Eddie. And Eddie isn't wearing any pants.
It's crazy.
He heard someone at the door. I'm sure knew no one would be there but Buck. Started primping, opened the door and was like,
"What up?
Sup?"
I feel like this scene is like a direct response to that season 6, like after the lightning strike.
Yes.
What should have been
the beers.
Because of
they're
the
finally
beers.
having their
They're
beers.
having their beers. Eddie's on the right side of, where he's supposed to be sitting next to Buck because Buck has his arm, like, you know what I mean? So I feel like that was kind of like a completion of what that should have been before he actually knocked out, because like the circumstances were obviously like really bad at the time.
I think those scenes are very much in conversation with each other. However, it's still not quite like perfect because, well, you could say one, Chris isn't there, right? The other one is that like while they've managed to overcome some of that obstacle and end up having the beers together, Buck is miserable. So it's not.
Oh, he's chugging.
Yeah, it's not like that.
Like he's at a frat party.
Yes. So it's not like that.
Oh, well, then it's a mirror because they're like in both situations, Buck went through the lightning strike and just needs his space and needs to sleep and all that stuff. And then he's like thinking about all of that, everything that just happened to him. And then here he's, miserable with the breakup, which, Come on, bud.
Mm-hmm. both times of which also Buck, after the lightning strike, needs to not be surrounded by people, but he still goes to Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And after the breakup, Buck needs to be surrounded by people, so he goes to Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like Eddie is going to always be that constant for him. Eddie is that person that no matter what he feels, what he needs, Eddie can give that to him. Like, even if he needs to not be around people, Eddie doesn't count as people because Eddie is Eddie. You know, just like Buck isn't
safe.
really a guest. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2 seasons after season 6, couch theory is so alive and well.
Oh, we've never been more back.
I know. It's just like, I want to know in the writer's room who decided to bring this back to life, right? Because so far we have 3 episodes of season 8. They're written by different people. So you have to have like consensus on this to be able to have that through line. But it's not as main character of a metaphor as it was in season 6. This is so much more subtle. Where season 6 was like, we're talking about the couch. Here's stuff with the couch. Everything is about the couch, like verbally, explicitly. All of this so far in, some of 7, but like in
this
8.
Feels like a very natural progression of that, because it's like they established what all of that means already. So they don't need to talk about it.
Exactly. It's now that they've already done the exposition of couch theory, they can go back to showing, not telling, which is what makes very good storytelling, right? So, because
sometimes you have to tell.
The exposition is always necessary, but like when you've had something so in the forefront of the characters' minds and the audience's minds, you don't have to explain it as much anymore. And that's what we're seeing.
Do we ever see Natalia on a couch together?
I don't think so. I don't really know.
So he's had 2 relationships where we don't see them sitting on a couch together. He really doesn't want to pick the wrong couch.
It really is still him being afraid to pick the wrong couch.
Yeah.
And he and Natalia never even got a chance to pick out a different couch because she had to go bye-bye.
Yeah.
For storytelling reasons. So
it's just crazy work. I love it. Give me 40 more. Thanks.
There's one more little thing. We didn't include this because I just remembered it.
What?
In 807, when Buck is preparing the lunch and doing all of like the baking and everything and says like, lunch is ready, Eddie hops over the couch on the loft in the station, which is basically the same thing that he did, like to walk over the couch instead of go around it. Like
we didn't include any of the station couch in this.
No, but I just thought that was like interesting because that is
him still leaping over the obstacle. Yeah. What could the obstacle be? He won't come out.
But he's leaping towards Buck in both instances too, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, I can't wait to see like where this is going for the rest of season 8. Well, we have one more. So this is season 8, episode 8, Wannabes. So we started official couch theory in season 6, episode 1, with Buck saying, I don't want to pick the wrong one. And now where we currently are in this hiatus, the most recent one we have seen is 808, is Buck saying to Eddie, I don't trust you to pick. What did he say exactly?
It's like, some of these places are tragic. Can't trust you to pick
a place,
a good one,
a good place.
I can't trust you to pick one yourself.
Yeah.
One for yourself.
I'm sorry. What?
Which is very much like, you can't after the Kim and Marisol, I don't trust you to pick one for yourself.
All of your rights have been taken away.
Yeah.
You cannot choose things for yourself right now.
But anyway, let's talk about the serious coffee table blocking.
Yes.
So traditionally, someone would be sitting on the couch, but since Christopher isn't physically there, it's like he's hovering above it on that iPad, and Eddie is sitting on the coffee table with his he's like hunched over.
Basically, if Christopher were there, he would be on the couch. He is in essence there through the tablet. Serious conversation time.
Well, so that wasn't a serious conversation.
It was supposed to.
It could have led to a serious conversation because there was the moment where Eddie was like, well, I'll get that autograph for you and I'll put it up in your room. And Christopher's like, oh, you'll mail it to me in El Paso? And he's like, I meant your room here, but sure, that's fine. And that would have been a good opportunity for him to start a serious conversation about how long are you planning on staying there? Like, what do you want? Or like, we need to like actually talk. There's so many things that he could have like led to from that.
There was so much opening there to actually talk.
And Chris is actually talking to him now, you know,
which is progress. Don't know how he got there, but that's another thing.
He's still acting. He's not acting like a father. He's acting like someone. He's acting like cool. Best buddy Bobby, right?
Yeah. He totally chickens out of having a deeper conversation with his own son because he's so taken aback and hurt by the situation. And he still doesn't, have that full understanding of why Chris left because of why Eddie did what he did.
So then cut to moving to the couch later. Because I don't want to go over the kitchen scene. Kitchen scenes are different. But TLDR is Buck finds out that Eddie is now looking to possibly move to El Paso. He's looking at homes. Like he has an appointment with the realtor. And he immediately is like, well, we should move this party to the couch. Which I feel like is the first time he's ever said, let's sit on the couch.
Everything about the couch has been unspoken, especially noticeably with confessions that they didn't even say a word. Nope. So to verbalize it out loud feels kind of weird, but that also just further, underlines this idea of like things aren't exactly how they should be.
We should move this party to the couch. I feel like that wording is important.
like an expectation.
Yeah. He's like, we should all be together as a family. We should move this party to the couch. We should all be together as a family. And
he's like, we?
And he's like, yes, I've made a decision because again, you cannot be. Some of these places are tragic, as in some of his choices in women are tragic when it's really actually Eddie. His lack of heterosexuality is tragic. But he's like, some of these places, his relationships have been tragic, right? I don't trust you.
No, they really have.
To pick one for yourself. Then we have the blocking of Buck on the couch, sitting across from where Eddie was earlier in that episode. So this is foreshadowing a serious conversation with either Buck and Eddie, or Buck, Eddie, and Christopher.
It is that classic coffee table blocking, but we get it in piecemeal, right?
Yeah.
It's not all together. So we're getting like little pieces here and there, but it's not all coming together in the way that it should, which is just another way of all of them just kind of avoiding communication, right? And Buck is also like, when he sits down, he's holding the tablet, just like Eddie was holding the tablet. So it's really representative of Chris in this situation as well.
And you can also look at it as, so the blue couch, the blue Diaz couch is representative of the family of the three of them, right? That is what that couch means. Buck is now ready, even if he's not consciously ready. He is sitting on the couch and waiting for Eddie and Chris.
Waiting for Eddie.
Yes, that's what he's doing.
Yeah. So to also go from Buck being on the backside of the couch at the beginning of the season to now just like, let's go to the couch. and sitting also not in his usual spot either.
Well, he sat on that side when he
came back from the lightning striking out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he started the season on the opposite side of the couch, and now he's, you know, kind of like trying to reclaim his spot back in, you know, Eddie's life, back in Christopher's life, while also kind of helping Eddie move out, which is so wrong for Buck too. It's wrong for Eddie, but
I think it's also just significant to see Buck sitting on the Diaz couch, especially without Christopher, almost, well, not 2 episodes in a row, but like very close together. Because we can count on one hand the other amount of times in the other 7 seasons that we see him on the Diaz couch
with Chris.
And none of those, one of those is without Christopher.
It's just a very like family unit kind of thing.
Yeah. And especially because last season, when we ended it, he was on the armchair, the arm of the couch.
Yeah.
Like, I don't belong on this couch. And now he's fully like, just walks into the house, sits down on the couch. Like, we should move. We should be sitting on the couch.
There is also this active choosing of Buck to go to the couch.
Yeah.
Right. You could maybe think that maybe he's a little further along. Right. And he's
a little further along.
He's chosen.
Not consciously.
I know. He's chosen to go to the couch. He's verbalized, let's go to the couch, as an actual invitation and not just like an assumption sort of thing like we saw with Confessions. Yeah, it was an invitation. So now he's on the couch and he's waiting for Eddie to join him. And you can kind of extrapolate that however you want in ideas of realization, maybe, or some sort of like dawning of awareness, which I think is what we see when it pans to, you know, Eddie's getting coffee in the kitchen, you know, after he looks on and is like pleased with Buck, you know, taking his rightful spot on the couch. And then you just have Buck by himself and just like this like wash of emotion comes over him. I think we've spoken before. We don't necessarily think it's like VOO moment, but it is.
But it's a devastation.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
It's some sort of like emotional awareness. So he's still just waiting for Eddie, and we'll see if like we'll get that invitation, you know, answered.
Also, I mean, like everything he said before he sits on the couch is so like blatant and important. But the fact that he's like, we should move the party to the couch, and Eddie emphasizes we,
because they are a unit.
Because they are a unit.
Do not separate. They come as a set.
And even after Buck is like, you're tragic, I don't trust you to pick it out yourself, Eddie is like smiling.
Yeah.
Like he's so happy that Buck inserts himself onto the couch where he wants him, where he belongs in the family unit.
Because that is where he belongs. And that's where all 3 of them belong together. And time will tell whether we get to make a part 2 that is happier or less happy. There were a couple just like very, very brief mentions of couch from articles that have come out during season 8 here. One of them is from an outlet called Entertainment Focus, and it was an interview with Peter Krause and Oliver Stark together, which I think was really cute. The interviewer asked or says like, Bobby and Athena have been going through so much over the course of the show, and Athena has gone through a lot at the start of season 8. What can you tease in terms of their relationship for the rest of the season? So this was Peter Krause talking about Bobby and Athena looking for a new home, and how at this point in time, like with the mid-season finale, the idea of a new home has kind of been paused, but they'll land somewhere. And he thinks that in the second half of the season, we'll see them have a home somewhere, he thinks. And then Oliver just chimes in and says, Buck has a spare couch. So even Oliver wants to get rid of Buck's couch.
He hates that couch.
Like, apropos of nothing, Oliver offers up Buck's couch to Bobby and Athena, like we've all talked about, being like, well, he should just offer his apartment to Bobby and Athena.
He called it a spare couch when it's his only couch.
Yeah.
bro.
Because it is spare, because he doesn't care about it, because it shouldn't be there in the first place.
Well, no, because his couch is the Diaz couch. That's fucking hilarious.
Exactly.
I love Oliver.
That is the spare couch.
Go off, King.
I know. Just like, he didn't have to chime in on that. He was not mentioned in that
theory. He says that. He says that because he's moving into Eddie's house. That's why he says that.
Oh God.
We need it.
We need him moving into Eddie's place, or at least getting the couch. Like, come on. Come on.
There's gonna be something there. So I just love that, because it was just like apropos of nothing. He was not addressed in that question. And he's just like, here, let me offer up Buck's couch.
I am also here to make it about Buddy somehow.
It's all about Buck.
Make it gay at all costs.
And then the other interview is from Pink News. And it was also an interview.
Shout out.
Shout out to News.
Shout out Poppy.
Poppy. Who says that they listen to our podcast, which is really cool, because then got to interview Oliver, which is so awesome.
Oh my God.
Like, I think we're just living vicariously.
It's probably my favorite interview.
Mm-hmm.
With him. It's so fucking good.
I think one of the best interviews. Just so well done. So Poppy from Pink News had an interview with Oliver, and the last question that was asked, which is such a fun question. So Oliver was prompted with, imagine
I didn't even think to talk about this. Oh my God.
This is why I have it. This is why I hoard all of the press articles now. Okay.
Oliver really is the Taylor Swiftification.
I know him, Oliver and Tim. They just like went to the Taylor Swift school of Taylor Swiftification.
Sorry, continue. Read the quote.
Thank you. So Oliver was prompted with this hypothetical. Imagine Buck is having a cozy duvet day at home. He's got his blankets and his duvet on his couch. In your mind, what's he watching? What's he drinking? And what snacks does he have? And Oliver responds saying, a whole season all the way through on a Sunday, chips, beer, 90 Day Fiancé, one of the 50 spinoffs that they have for the show. Yeah, I see that for Buck on his probably uncomfortable couch in his apartment. That's the best I've got. So just like him constantly bringing up the couch, or how uncomfortable the couch is, and how Buck hates the couch. He doesn't have to do that.
He's getting rid of it.
He's doing it.
He's gonna get rid of it. He's the reason why this theory is back.
I know.
Him sitting on the couch watching 90 Day Fiancé. I know what you are, Oliver. He really is like, I'm gonna make it about Buddy at all costs. Like, what? Talking about the couch.
He could just say like on the couch, but he said no, on his probably uncomfortable couch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What part of season 8 were these?
Mid-season finale, like post. So the Pink News article came out on November 21st.
So they had wrapped shooting through 8
through 9.
Right, because they fucking shot.
Mm-hmm. So Pink News came out November 21st, which was I think the day of the mid-season finale, and the Entertainment Focus one came out a week later on the 29th. So
number one Buddy shipper, number one couch theory proponent, defender, purveyor,
distributor,
preacher,
gospel of couch theory.
Yeah. He is preaching the gospel of couch theory. He's planting seeds.
He is the shepherd of couch theory. We are but the flock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is couch theory through the mid-season of season 8. Part 1.
Very concise. I hope you enjoyed.
I don't know what more there is to say about it, because we've said all there is to say so far. We want more couch theory. We want to talk about this more. We want to see this like come to like full circle, full fruition. We are none of us are ever going to let this go. Oliver, first and foremost.
No.
Anyway, I predict that he's getting rid of somehow he's getting rid of his ugly ass couch. His uncomfortable one.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the next step. Has to be.
And what is going to be the replacement?
The Diaz's one.
Yep. It's the only option.
Acceptable option. Yeah.
For couch theory to be fully realized, right?
What if Eddie does move and then he offers his couch?
That's what I'm thinking. It's either going to be that or he moves into the Diaz house because Eddie is slightly less insane and just like rents an Airbnb.
Oh, what if he doesn't feel safe in his loft anymore?
Stop.
Okay, I'm doing this to myself. It's 3:36.
I was like, big brain.
Well, listen, I was not going to voice it, but since you went there, I was like, what if there's like a giant blood stain or something on the couch?
Oh. You can't have that couch be ruined twice.
Stop that.
And still have it live.
The couch is as much of an abomination as the person who gave it to him, so we can fuck that couch up as much as they want.
Well,
someone just needs to take a knife and stab it. That's the way it has to die.
Yeah, but they would have to stab Buck on the couch.
Not if there's a tussle.
Anyway,
this is crazy.
If we missed anything, please let us know.
We tried to be so thorough, but also
we try to be really thorough.
Not necessarily definitive, but I think we ended up being like mostly.
But also, if you did notice something that we didn't catch, I mean, it's great discussion.
It is. We love this shit. We love it. We didn't talk about, I think we try to stick to couches in the homes.
Yeah, because we did not talk about the 118 couches in the
118 couch. No.
I think that stuff means different anyways, a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to it in a part 2.
Couch theory, the 118 version.
No, it's part of Couch Theory Extended Universe.
It is true.
CTEU.
Oh my God. Anyway, we hope that you enjoyed this episode that you asked for.
Are you sorry yet?
Yeah.
We hope it's everything you ever dreamed of.
I really hope you've enjoyed it.
And please come follow us on socials. We are on pretty much all of them.
Mm-hmm. Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok if it's still there.
Yeah, TikTok if it's still there when this comes out.
Tumblr. We're also on YouTube. You can watch our entire our full-length podcast and some extra episodes that we have there, like live reactions. You can follow us in any of those places.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the same handle at Buddie System Pod, BUDDIE, like the namesake.
Yeah.
So
come talk to us about your theories if you have expanded on something that we talked about or have a different take on it or we missed something. Please let us know.
Mm-hmm. We love hearing all the different.
We want to compile all the evidence.
These are our receipts, okay?
Mm-hmm. No, these are the pages of the scripture.
Oh my God.
Part of the Buddie Bible, right?
Yes. Oh my God, the Buddie Bible.
I feel like that's merch.
That is great merch, actually. Oh my God, it would be so cute if we did a timeline of couch theory and little doodles.
We'll workshop that. That's cute.
Remember, don't dissociate on your couch.
But if you do,
take a buddy with you.
Thank you for listening to the Buddie System podcast from start to finish.
We literally cannot shut up about 911, so please come talk to us on your favorite social media platform.
We're at Buddie System Pod everywhere. That's BUDDIE System Pod.
Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get a personal shout out in the next episode. The Buddie System is a Nerd-Virgent media production featuring music from Divinity.
Can't get enough of the buddies? Subscribe to our Patreon for access to exclusive content and our Discord community.
Catch you next time. And don't forget,
Bring a buddy with you.